Okay, well, we're live. It claims we're live, and I'm going to open my soda now that it claims we're live. So, everybody, welcome to WordCast number 6 that we're doing here. It's been a really long time since we've done one, but we decided that we're going to start getting back into it and doing it every Tuesday night again. At least for now. That date is subject to change approximately a month from now, but we'll see. I'm Ethan Ward, and we're going to talk with the latest news updates for you. And if you guys want to ask any questions, the Q&A option in Hangouts isn't working correctly for some reason, so just go ahead and tweet to us. It's at WordTech Reviews. So there we go, and we'll answer your questions as best we can on the live stream. So anyway, introduce yourself, buddy. You're just going to wave? Really? Really?
I mean, I figured I gotta do something different. Everyone just says their name.
Oh,
so, I'm Harry Potter.
Damn you.
Call me Daniel, because that's my actual name, and Daniel Radcliffe, so I win.
Yep.
Yeah.
It works perfect. Okay, so anyway, we have some interesting topics to talk to you guys about today, but first off, I wanted to start by explaining what we plan to do with the site or company or whatever you want to call us right now. And so we have some things that are going to be, we're going to be expanding some things over time. So first off is the website's been completely redesigned from the ground up. All of the old posts are gone, all of the old categories are gone, everything from WordPress. We had to refresh it. There were some permission issues when we switched to the new server, because we switched to a newer, faster server, and now that it arose that we couldn't get permission access to change those files for some reason. Even the server admins weren't able to do it. So, unfortunately, that is a little bit sad that we had to get rid of all the old posts. But again, it's mostly news, so it's not a huge deal. We're going to be setting up all the original pages that we had on there, including the forums. So just feel free to check that out, wordtechreviews.com, and then. Figured I would go ahead and also mention that we're going to be getting we have some more people that are going to be posting videos soon, as well as myself. I'm going to be doing a lot more. I'm getting some softbox lighting so that we can, and getting like a studio type setup for that. And then, excuse me. As for the website, some more stuff we're doing is we're going to be having multiple live streamers that are going to be set up through the website to be live streaming games, and we're also going to set up a separate channel on YouTube, WordTech Gaming, that'll be specifically oriented towards game reviews and game live streams and stuff like that for you guys, so that you guys can have a separate category for that, since there's such a broad range of things to cover in gaming instead of just tech. So that'll be interesting. Lots of more people working with us, and things should be back up to normal soon. In case you didn't notice, the website is still under construction, so we're going to start posting things as soon as we possibly can, and it's ready for that, but there's a lot of things that are still being worked on, so just cut it some slack right now. It's not set up correctly. So anyway, that's just kind of the mainstream news. A couple teasers for you guys, though, videos we have coming up. I'm going to be reviewing the Bear Dynamic DT770 Pros that I promised I would review 2 months ago. And then I'm going to be getting some new keyboard keycaps that I'll be reviewing. I'm going to be reviewing the new 3DS, the new i7 4790K. I mean, it's not really new anymore, but newish, and the actually new Sabertooth Mark S from Asus, which is their black and white kind of white camouflaged board of their Sabertooth Tough series that I finally have now. And then we have some other little things that'll be coming up soon as well, so stay tuned for all those videos, and just keep watching what we're going to be doing. So
and I'll be reviewing that, which is Vizio's 4K 50-inch TV that they just came out with recently. If any of you are interested in a 4K TV, this is by far the best deal right now. It has an HDMI 2 port, so it can do 4K 60. It is a full smart TV with Netflix 4K streaming functionality built in, all that stuff, and it is less than $1,000. I got mine on sale for $700. So look around. You can usually get it for a really good deal.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. So I mean, I was blown away by that. Even though I don't want anything 4K right now. Yeah, no, 4K is going to be the next thing. I'm probably going to get a 4K monitor by the end of this year. I'm just not looking for to do that right now. So I guess
I want a 4K ultra wide.
Yes, now that would be nice. I am waiting for a 2160p ultra wide. That would be really cool. Actually, that's probably what I'll wait for. I'll probably
I
get my
want like
wide.
legit 4K, not UHD.
Right, exactly. And when you say legit 4K, are you talking when you say that, are you talking 16 by whatever it is, slightly wider, or are you talking 21 by
Yes.
9 width?
I'm talking the actual 4K, which is what was it? Like
I don't know. Let's find out. 4K resolution.
it's the DCI 4K, not the
Right. 4096 by 2160, so 19 by 10.
yeah.
Okay, I like that idea. Mute your phone. No, I like that idea. Although I want to get a 2160p ultra wide, so I don't know what exactly that would be. Ultra wide would be 5120 by 2160. I'm gonna wait for that. I'm gonna be getting a 1080p one soon, 1080p ultra wide, but then I'm gonna be going ahead and grabbing that. I suppose before we start with the news, which we're about to, though, I would like to also mention that I'd like to talk about my build update. So I just did a really big update, spent about $600, and I got the new i7 4790K and the Sabertooth Mark S. Like I said, I'm going to be reviewing both of those, and I'm going to be doing a direct comparison between that i7 and the FX 8350, both with overclocks and without, on a number of benchmarks for you guys and putting those on graphs and everything. I don't have any other CPUs to test it against currently, except sort of the 9370, although most people aren't going to be buying that. Most people are grabbing the 8350, so I'm going to go ahead and do it with that, just so you guys can see how they compare, and also to prove that Intel's better. Anyway, though, oh yeah, the other thing, I got a 4.8 gigahertz stable overclock out of this thing, and I might be able to go higher with it, so that's pretty cool. Pretty insane overclock for that. So excited about that. Anyway, you want to start with the tech news, man?
Yeah, let's talk about the fucking Pebble.
Yeah. Let's talk about the new Pebble.
This thing has been on Kickstarter less than a day. It's already at 7.7 million, 7,734,717 dollars as of right now. Oh, it just updated to 906. Yeah, it is increasing by a dramatic amount. They only have 36,000 backers, which, yes, that's a lot, but compared to how much money they have, it's really not. I mean, something like the one of the recent card games up there had over 200,000 backers. So Pebble's killing it. For those that haven't seen this watch, it's pretty nice. I mean, it's colored ink display, so e-ink meaning you're still going to get the same ridiculous, amazing battery life, 7 days. But now you get color. It has a mic. I don't think it's as water resistant. They aren't specifying the rating, which is what's leading me to believe that. If it was the same like 5 ATMs, then it would be pretty.
Right, exactly.
But it is still water resistant, which is good.
Yeah, they did say, if you read the entire Kickstarter article, they did say that you can still go swimming with it. So that's going to say something. I'm guessing it's going to be higher than an IP67 of some sort. I'm not sure exactly how. For those of you that didn't catch it or whatever, it's called the Pebble Time, is the new watch name. Now, Time is also going to be what their new interface is called, which is going to be pushed to all old Pebble devices. Anyway, though, continuing on with the Pebble Time, did you want to say anything else about it, or do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, I was going to say, so they're completely updating the interface. Now, this update's being applied to the regular Pebble and Pebble Steel as well. But it is essentially more of a timeline. So essentially what you'll see is when you look at it, it's going to have the clock. The center button is going to essentially give you like actionable info on like notifications that directly come in, things like that, the present. The up button is essentially going to go back in time, look at missed events. So if you weren't at your paying attention to your watch or something, you can check emails, things like that have come in. Sports games, whatever you want, and then if you go down, it's going to essentially move forward in time. You can see upcoming events, check the weather, any other things that you have, and what's going to be cool is you won't have to have just apps integrate into this. It is specifically going to be integrating with web services, so that you can have actionable information, but without having to install a whole bunch of apps.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm actually, honestly, really surprised by it. They're trying hard, and it's I feel that it's a really good competition for things like Android Wear and stuff to have right now. So that's my thought on it. I'm really excited. I just wanted to let anybody that joined this live stream a little later to remember to tweet to at WordTech Reviews right now if you are interested in any questions or anything. And speaking of which, we just got one. Cody. Cody Underhill, or the Dark Wolf, he's the one that's live streamed with us before on some of the past WordCasts. He just said, "What's the price of the Pebble Time look like?"
Pebble
So,
Time right now, if you back it on Kickstarter, it is 179. They're out of the 159 models. The retail will be 199, and it's coming in 3 colors. It's coming in black, white, and then red. Which the red one will have, because all of them, the band around the front is stainless steel. The red one will have a black PVD stainless steel bezel.
okay, cool. Um, so anyway, and then you just said the retail price, correct?
Yeah, 199.
Yeah, all right, 199, which I'm actually really impressed with, considering the Pebble Steel was 250 when it first came out, and now we still have one that is at least part metal and has those significant upgrades that they did to it, which I will mention without pulling back anything that made the Pebble the Pebble. It's just it's basically take the Pebble and add an e-ink to screen and e-ink screen in color and a microphone. So they're not getting rid of the reasons that people liked Pebble in the past. Now,
Also, if you are going to want one of the Pebble Times, for anyone interested, I would hurry up and back it, because the 179, there's essentially 2 sections right now, one of which ships in May, one of which ships in June. You can get both colors either way, but I mean, if you're spending the same money at the same time, you might as well fucking get it in May.
that is true. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to be getting mine in May when I do it, because I'm not going to back it right now. I financially can't.
It won't be out for retail until June, probably, when the rest of them ship.
That's true. But I mean, it's not a big deal.
Also, they are once again changing the fucking charging connectors, but now that they're putting it on the back instead of the side, I'm really hoping they can start sticking with one fucking charging connector.
I think
that's the most annoying thing about the Pebble.
I'm hoping so as well. I wanted to also mention something that that I noticed that they were kind of hinting at in the videos, or not in the video. Sorry, it was in the some of the reading at the bottom of the Kickstart page. They're working with a way to possibly add bands in the future that, from what they hinted at, could mean a heart rate monitor, which would be a big deal. Let's see here. Let me find where it said it somewhere.
They very well could do something similar to what the Moto 360 technically already has. While it's not something you can access, where the watch bands go on the Moto 360, and I believe it's on the Moto 360. I know a couple of Android Wear watches have it. There is actually USB connections in that area that aren't used, like they're not active. But theoretically, with that, you could have a watch band that has maybe a battery or extra functionality or something.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. That's what it seems like they might be doing. Let me see. So, let's see. I'm trying to find exactly where it said that. So, let me see. Okay. Go ahead and talk more about the Pebble while I find this, because otherwise.
Okay. Let's see if... Yeah, there's not really much else, at least that they've announced that they've changed. They are adding some extra things as far as developer APIs and stuff. If you want to read more about that, just go to Kickstarter, and they're kind of pimping out the Pebble. I mean, it's even on their blog. They were talking about how good it was for the first 6 hours, how popular and how fast it's been growing. So I mean, it's going to be all over.
Right.
And there's videos about the UI and things like that. So even if you have an existing Pebble, I would check out the video about the UI, because you're going to be getting that update, so at least you know what to look forward to. You just won't have it in color.
Right. Exactly. Okay, I know they said it somewhere, and I can't remember where it is now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not finding it, but I know I heard about somewhere that they're going to have a way that you can probably get heart rate monitoring and stuff on there without using another Bluetooth device. Um, just a second. I'm noticing on the stream right now, I am not, even when I'm talking, I am not popping up. Oh, okay, I had clicked on you. Okay, I know what happened there. Never mind, that was my mess up. So another thing that I read about is that they plan to have a way to have it automatically cache the apps that you're most likely to use, so that way they're going to be able to have it set up in a way where instead of being limited to 8 apps or whatever it was, or 8 apps and watch faces like on the old Pebble, that it will kind of dynamically push new apps to it when you're most likely to use them or something like that. That's the impression I got. I don't know 100% how accurate that is. Um, well,
Yeah, they haven't specified, at least from what I'm seeing, how many apps you can have installed. I'm really hoping it's a substantial amount more though, because that was one of my biggest gripes, was that there are a lot of niche things that I wouldn't want to have to switch, but there are also what's WordTech? You forgot the
I don't
word.
know what is going on. I tried to do something and it just stopped working. I don't know what. I have literally no idea what it's doing. Daniel, talk so you're the one there. I don't. That was really
Okay, it went
like
away.
trying to link it to my face or something.
Okay. But yeah, they haven't really said how many apps, but I mean, I hope it's at least like, you know, 12 apps and then more room for watch faces, or at least let us remove the existing watch faces and give us room for more apps there. Because, I
Yeah.
mean, there were, quite a few watch faces I would never use that came on the original Pebble when I had it.
Right.
And,
Right. Same here.
I mean, that would have just been extra space. So I hope they at least do something like that. I'm sure they will. They just haven't confirmed anything yet.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm hoping they do too. So here, let me see if I can get this to work. Okay, it's just gonna hover above my head now, I guess. Are you seeing this, Daniel?
Yeah.
What the heck? I'm trying to make it just. I told it to just. I wanted to do a drawing, and then it's just like, nah, I'm just gonna link it to your face. Maybe. Oh wait, maybe I can fix it this way. Hold on. There we go. I got it. Okay. Okay. Well, looking better now. Okay. Is it doing things correctly?
Yeah.
Can you read it?
Yes, I can read
Okay,
it.
let's flip the orientation for me just so that I know what's going on. Okay, there we go. So now you guys can see up there. Tweet at WordTech Reviews if you have any questions about anything. We are on there right now, so I'm watching it. So go ahead, tweet there. Also, share this with anybody. Try and get more people joining this live stream. We want to answer some questions. So with the Pebble, I guess that's pretty much all the news going for the Pebble. The nice thing is it uses a standard 22 millimeter watch band, so we're not going to have any problems with the watch band being, you know, not compatible. Which I would hate a proprietary watch band because I like mine to be metal. So anyway, uh, yeah, I'm not seeing. Yeah, there's nothing really new about it other than what we said. So we had some other news that we wanted to go ahead and go over though. Did you want to start with something else, Daniel, or
No, you can go.
we want to do an argument debate? Okay, I guess the first thing that I'm interested in talking about would actually, here's just a little piece of news. I'll throw this in while I think about how I'm going to word the other stuff. So I am actually pretty excited for this. The new Crucial just released their new BX100 1 terabyte SSD. It's brand new and it's supposed to be very impressive. It's been out like almost 2 weeks now, and it's a 1 terabyte SSD that only costs $380. Right as the time of me speaking, only $380 on Amazon, which I'm impressed with. I actually plan to be getting one sometime in April. Uh, it's just overall going to be an incredible. It's just going to be awesome, is what it's going to be. So, um, let me see
Why are
something.
you presenting me to everyone?
I don't know what I'm clicking the wrong thing.
Stop.
Stop telling me to stop. You see, because when you're talking, talk.
Okay.
Yeah, see, it's not switching the live stream to you, is it?
Are you
Automatically?
clicked on you?
I'm clicked on me.
Okay, don't click on you.
But if I click on you, then it switches to you, and it's not letting me
Don't.
click off. I want it to dynamically change.
You click on you again.
I hate you.
Learn how to use Hangouts, dude.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. No. Okay, so anyway, it's a 1 terabyte SSD. There aren't any reviews out with it currently, but it's supposed to be a really good performer. So I plan to be grabbing one of those to throw my games on, just because every second I just hate waiting for games to load. I really do. So that's just a small little piece of news. But we want to go ahead. Should we start with the AMD news or the Intel news? Because there's a lot on both sides, or the NVIDIA news. There's a lot of that too.
I don't give a fuck.
Okay, well, I figured you wouldn't give a fuck. So, let's see here. I guess we can start on Intel. Do you want to start off, or
You go first.
you want me to go first? Damn it. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna go ahead and start with I'll start with Broadwell news just because that's first. Even though there is gonna be Skylake is what's more interesting. But anyway, starting with the Broadwell news that's coming out. So we have some interesting possible rumors, but possible not rumors, but it's kind of weird. So at first there was an article, and I can't remember who it was written by, but there was an article about Broadwell that was saying that the likelihood of it being on desktop is really, really low, that they're probably just going to skip it outright, that they might go ahead and bring it to Haswell E, but that wouldn't be until the mid-2016, or sorry, to X99. Just like with Haswell, Haswell came out last year, and beginning of last year, and then mid-year or later in we got the Haswell E stuff, and so we'd have Broadwell E. Although that it seemed like that was also unlikely, and that they were going to go straight to Skylake for the next desktop stuff, just because of the way Broadwell is being, and the troubles that they were going to have with it, because Broadwell is a die shrink. Am I right about that, or is it Broadwell is a die shrink, correct?
Yeah.
Let me
so.
triple check on that, because it's a tick, so it's a die shrink. So Broadwell, which is in case you guys didn't understand the way tick-tock with Intel goes, a lot of people don't understand it. Is a tick is a die shrink, a tock is a new microarchitecture, and it's interesting the way they have it set up. And if you just search Intel tick-tock and go to the Wikipedia link on Google, you can see this graph thing that I'm looking at right now. But what it is it's a little bit more confusing than it seemed at first, because they keep the microarchitecture and then rename it with a new code name when they shrink the die. So we have the reason that we had. I'll start with Sandy Bridge. So we had Sandy Bridge. Sandy Bridge was a new microarchitecture. Then after that, we went to Ivy Bridge. Notice that they were both bridge, right? They both had very close names. So then we have Ivy Bridge. Ivy Bridge was on the Sandy Bridge architecture, but down to a 22 nanometer die shrink. Then we have Haswell, which was a new architecture that was introduced. It was still on the 22 nanometer, and the code name was also Haswell. But if we look at Broadwell, notice they're both well. If we look at Broadwell, Broadwell is a die shrink, but it's still running on the Haswell architecture. And then Skylake and Cannon Lake are going to be the talk and tick for there. So it's kind of an interesting way that they do it. So just know that I find it funny a little bit the way they had it set up. So they start with the microarchitecture, and then they have the second name that sounds similar to it that is going to be the die shrink, because it's actually the same microarchitecture. They just call it something different so that general consumers can understand it. So anyway, though, Broadwell likely not coming to desktop. But then there was an article posted by the WCCF Tech showing that that we were going to see Broadwell on desktop, and possibly, let's see, it was on processor S. So that's going to be their S series, although it also might be running on Broadwell, and Skylake S might both run on the same socket that the oh, what is it? It's a little bit of a confusing graph, to be honest. They didn't set it up very well. They didn't label things as well as they should. But basically, it showed that Broadwell might be coming a desktop, which is really weird because we thought, like I just said, we were only going to see it in mobile. So that was the really, really weird part. And then showing that Broadwell E in 2016 will also be coming to X99, the Extreme platform, which I find even weirder. It just doesn't make much sense in my opinion. So yeah, all right. So Cody asked, what are the specs of the 1 TB SSD and what's the lifespan? So since there hasn't been much testing done on it yet because it just came out a couple weeks ago, there's not much known about it. But if I let's see, if I look at the projected speed that they say on Amazon, they're looking at 535 on the read, 450 on the write for megabytes per second, and then the more important factor, IOPS, 90,000 on the read, 87,000 on the write. Knowing crucials are probably going to be fairly close to accurate. I'm actually really happy that it's got good megabytes per second read-write because that's what I'm looking for in games, considering I'm using it for mass storage. So happy about that. Let's see. Okay, so Broadwell. So yeah, so we don't really know what's going to happen with Broadwell, but then we also did find out that that Intel announced that they're going to be doing something big and disruptive with their Skylake microarchitecture, hinting that they might really be focused on the enthusiast with Skylake as well as everything else. So that's the part that kind of made me wonder. I don't know. That's a little odd that they would be doing that, but I don't know why they would call it big and disruptive. The other thing, though, that they could be hinting at, that WCCF Tech hinted at, is a big little core design in a sense, although there are problems with that they would solve with something they call morph core. And basically what it is, so in case you guys didn't know what big little was, it's something kind of that that Samsung came up with, and basically having an 8-core processor, but it's really 2 CPUs. One is a low-end quad-core, one's a really high-end quad-core. That way, when it's doing basic tasks, it runs on the low-end one to get great battery life, but it can still hammer through everything necessary when it's needed, gaming or whatnot, right? And that's something that they've been working on using with their Exynos chips. But the other thing, Morph Core, what it would do is it's a very interesting way of doing it. So let me see exactly the way they explained it. So it would take a right. Okay. So basically, there would be Morph Core would be. Oh, what am I getting at? Daniel, talk about something while I read this so I know how to explain it just right.
Uh,
Talk about Skylake and the other things about it if you've been following it.
I haven't really.
Oh, okay. Okay. So one large core. So all right, what Morph Core would do, and the way I'm getting it, it's kind of, if I'm understanding it correctly, it's almost what Intel already knows how to do with hyper-threading. So they're talking about basically having one large core that divides itself into small virtual cores. Now, the reason for that being is they would be able to get the good single core performance that they need with it being a heavy single core, but then also the good multitasking that it needs when it needs it for the large amounts of threads. And so the way I'm understanding it is almost like having extreme hyper-threading on a single core, but one that could dynamically adjust the hyper-threading on it. And so what they would essentially be doing is they would have a single CPU or a single really fast CPU that would be able to handle more tasks at once because I have more threads going to it, although that doesn't completely make sense either, because honestly 2 threads is plenty of information to keep a single core busy all the time. So I don't know what exactly they're talking about, but Intel's got some surprises, so that's something that I'm excited about. All All right, so Cody says 540 megabytes per second read write is normal in the SSD world. Yeah, because that's the SATA 3 max theoretical. Well, the max theoretical output of SATA 3 is actually higher than that, because it's 6 gigabits per second to let's see. So if I said, yeah, 750 megabytes a second is technically the theoretical, but that's never ever going to be hit. Now I will say though, SATA 3 can be pushed a little harder. People have gotten 550 out of it, but it's kind of rare. Yeah, it is normal, but there are SSDs out there that are a little bit lower on the read writes.
If someone, by the way, as far as SSDs go, right now, if you're looking at getting one, also another good alternative to that would be Samsung's 850 EVO is only 400 on Newegg.
Really?
Yep.
I thought it was higher than that for.
It normally is 500, but it's on sale.
Oh, you're right. It is on sale. Okay, I would go with that one for $20 more if I needed to. But I'm guessing it's going to be almost back up to 500 by the time I want to get it. So I don't know. I'm going to consider both. So anyway, yeah. So that's the news about Broadwell and then Skylake. Skylake's looking really interesting, but it's still mostly speculation. We don't know too much about it, so we'll be figuring more of that out later. In the meantime, real quick, because I just kind of noticed this, I wanted to apologize for the extraordinarily messy background that you guys are seeing on my camera right now. I don't know if any of you noticed. I have been doing a lot of work lately on doing some builds and stuff, so my room got messed up, and then the bookshelves got messed up because I had to rip some boxes off of there that things were actually organized over there, so I apologize for that. That's going to be fixed soon, but anyway, look at me, not that. So, is there, what was one of the things that you brought up that we should talk about?
Since we're on the topic of Intel also, they were talking about some of their even more, like in the future plans. For one, late 2016, early 2017, they're looking at moving to releasing their first chips based on the 10 nanometer process for the shrinks. And then beyond that, they were talking about moving even farther down to 7 nanometer, which is half of Broadwell. Broadwell is 14. And they're already working on their 7 nanometer, but they are going to have to be moving at least partially away from silicon in order to make that work. They haven't provided any specifics due to not wanting to give competition any legs up. But yeah, it's a big deal. They're moving even smaller, even to beyond what people really thought would make sense as far as Moore's Law. And it's continuing. They've said that they'll be able to keep up the pace, essentially.
Right, yeah, I'm actually impressed by that. Why am I getting... Hold on just a moment. Yeah, keep talking about the 7 nanometer thing.
There's not that much other info. Most of it is just speculation.
Right.
They are working on eventually doing... like currently they're working on 2.5D packaging, essentially where separate dies would be side by side, but they are working on a 3D one where they'd be stacked on top of each other, which would both of those would help reduce power consumption even more, and 3D would be really, really good for mobile and wearables.
Okay, yeah, right.
So.
Interesting. Okay, just got a question here. Oh, my dog's down here now. Okay, I just got a question from Jacob Grisan. He's also someone that's done some work for WordTech. Kind of interesting here. So he was just asking about the glasses that I'm wearing, and he was asking if they were Gunner glasses. Yes, they are Gunner glasses. These ones in particular are the I can't remember which series they are. Gunner PPK, I believe, is what it is. Let me see. But yeah, I wear these all the time and couldn't live without them. Okay, yeah, these are the Gunner PPK, the Snow White Edition, and I am really liking them. So, in case you any of you that didn't know about these, what these glasses are designed to do. More so than just the yellow tint that they appear to have, which reduces blue light, which is better for your eyes in the long term, and also helps you, gives you a little bit higher contrast so that you can focus on you can see a little bit more detail. You guys probably understand what higher contrast is, but anyway, the other advantage to them is, and this is just a natural advantage of glasses, is that they reduce eye dryness because there's not as much air going over your eyes over time. But I have noticed that the contrast increase is actually really nice. There are moments where I'm able to see things in a game that I normally wouldn't be able to, such as like in Titanfall, if you're in a Titan and a enemy pilot goes cloaked, you're supposed to barely be able to see them, and I can see them a lot easier with these on. I've actually noticed it because it brings out that contrast a little more, which they have a little bit of an outline around them. So right. Okay, yeah, Cody just mentioned the yellow tint reduces blue light emissions, making it easier to sleep at night. Yeah, that's correct. So, I just got a comment from someone saying the video is lagging out a little bit, although that could just be Hangout's problem. I know it's not a problem on our side. You've got an i5, I've got an i7, we have no worries. Yeah, so,
What topic next, since you had most of them selected?
yes, I did have most of the topics selected, didn't I? Let's see. I guess I could start talking about the. Well, let's talk about some NVIDIA news before I jump on the AMD stuff right now. I've actually been a little bit interested. And by NVIDIA news, I am mostly talking, and this is related to NVIDIA and AMD actually, both, is the NVIDIA gaining 11% market share compared to last year, while AMD's compared to last year dropped 11%. So NVIDIA grabbed 11% from AMD. A little bit unfortunate, although some people were freaking out a little bit about the numbers. But I just wanted to mention that it's not as big of a deal as it might seem, partly because AMD hasn't released anything new this year. When they do that, then that's when we'll see the competition drive up more, and they're going to be releasing some new stuff fairly soon here. What are you smiling about, Daniel?
Just random stuff on the internet.
Random stuff on the internet. Fun. Okay. Because I saw that little smile, I'm like, what the heck is he looking at? Okay. So the other thing, though, about NVIDIA is how they're getting sued over the whole 970 false advertising issue. I
like how Gigabyte is the only OEM also included in that suit. I'm guessing it's because the person initially filing the suit purchased from Gigabyte. But for one, if you're filing a class action lawsuit, you should probably do it against everyone that was selling the product. Two, and this is one thing, yes, I understand there was some false advertisement, and I understand where it came from on both sides. I do understand why people are upset. I understand where it came from NVIDIA. But the one thing I really have to question is, did any of the people that actually bought the 970 buy it without looking at benchmarks? Because the benchmarks do not change because something that you thought worked doesn't. Benchmarks work either way, and I guarantee that anyone, especially someone who's taking the time to file a lawsuit over the issue, was one of the people that looked into the card before purchasing it.
Right.
Not just saw 4 gigabytes and went out and bought it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing that frustrates me most about it.
It's still false advertising, but
yes, I totally understand why people are mad, and I was really angry actually at first. But I actually, once I read about the reason it happened and it wasn't purposeful false advertising, you guys gotta understand that it's not people don't get it. So it wasn't like NVIDIA went out there and said, hey, let's just advertise this as 4 gigs when it isn't truly because we feel like it. The card was originally going to be a 4 gig card, and they built the GPU around a 4 gig card. And so the marketing team worked on it being a 4 gig card. And Daniel actually is the one that explained this to me. And so what had happened is then they had started marketing it as a 4 gig card because that's what it was supposed to be. And then there were some initial things where they had to turn off some of the cache, correct? Is that what it was?
It was a couple of different things on the card. Essentially, it wasn't just one specific thing.
Right. So they had to turn off a few things, which actually caused some pretty hefty problems because now it's basically a 3.5 gig card. But it wasn't NVIDIA purposefully trying to trick people. The other thing about it, the people don't seem to realize. And the other thing that I can see why people are still frustrated is that they need to switch all that packaging as soon as they can. Now, maybe they already have. It takes a while for that packaging.
No, they actually don't, because, I mean, and this is even something, NVIDIA actually just posted a blog post today, and it straight up says, NVIDIA is a 4 gig card. However, the upper 512 megabytes is segmented and has a reduced bandwidth. Technically, they don't have to change it. It's not false advertising because it says 4 gigabytes.
Technically, that's true.
Where NVIDIA even faults themselves is, unfortunately, we failed to communicate this internally with our marketing team and externally to reviewers at launch. So everyone was under the impression when purchasing it that it was a full 4 gigabytes that ran the same. It's not, but technically it still has 4 gigabytes. They didn't lie about that part. Definitely it won't perform the same as if it had 4 full gigabytes in certain scenarios, but...
Right. Speaking of which, I have a couple quick tweets that I meant to mention. One of them I meant to mention a second ago. Cody also just mentioned that the anti-reflective coating that makes the screen easier to read, you can get this on almost any glasses with a prescription. Yes, he's right. That's true. The other thing I have to look at is that's if you are a person that uses glasses. I
have high-quality anti-reflective coating on this, and I've noticed on this and both on alternate glasses I've seen that are yellow with it, it's not as good. Whatever Gunnar did with their anti-reflective coating is of a higher quality than you can get at most glasses places.
Right,
I have to tip my hat to that, but...
the other thing I wanted to mention about that in specific was also that with the Gunnar optics, you can get them with a prescription set of glasses, and most of the time insurance will pay for them. They're authorized to do that kind of stuff. So they're actually a really good option, but at the same time, you know, if you're looking for a cheaper alternative because you already have a pair of glasses, get it on your current glasses. The Gunnars mostly seem to be around for the people that don't need glasses, such as me. I bought these because obviously I'm not going to get a prescription set of glasses. So also, speaking of the NVIDIA stuff, Cody mentioned something, and I like the way he put this actually. NVIDIA fucked up, yes, but honestly, when was the last time they did something like that? Punish them once, not twice. Makes a really good point that, you know, it's not the end of the world deal. And what Daniel was saying about benchmarks too is, you know, if you're going to be getting a card, you know, you don't buy a card without looking at benchmarks, unless, you know, I mean, unless you're an idiot, pretty much. I mean, most people look at benchmarks before they buy a card. Even the newbiest of the newbiest PC builder or, you know, person purchasing a gaming rig, because they understand that the benchmarks are there, and if it benchmarks at this performance level, that's the performance you're going to get out of it, given that there are no other present bottlenecks in the system. So, you know, you look at it just because all of a sudden now we realize that the card basically has 3.5 gigs, not 4. You know, it still performs the same way. And then people's excuse, though, is that, oh, well, 4K, what if I want to game at 4K? If you're going to game at 4K, go buy two 980s or two 290Xs or two 390Xs when those come out. You don't do that with a 970. I'm sorry, but you guys have to understand that you're not going to be spending $300 on a graphics cards and $800 on your monitor to game at 4K. No, you're not going to put two 970s together. You're going to do two 980s. The only scenario that would make sense is if you had a 970 that you purchased and you want another one later down the road when you have the money and when you decide to go 4K, if you decide to go 4K. And yes, that could be a problem, but at the same time, it's not something that you should be worried about, honestly. You should just outright buy a 980 if you're going to do that. And honestly, even so, 3.5 gigs is enough to play a lot of games at 4K. You don't need too much more. 4 gigs is enough to run at 4K. We don't need more than 4 gigs to run it at 4K. So, I mean, 3.5 for most games will be fine. Also, something to note on the 3.5 thing is that a lot of software and a lot of games actually just think it's a 3.5 gig card anyway. So you don't get that. You know, people complain that once you reach into that memory, it slows down so much that the GPU, it's a bottleneck to the GPU, and it slows down the game a lot. But the thing is, most games won't fill it up past 3.5 gigs because that's how much memory they think it has. So it's really not an issue, and honestly, I personally feel that NVIDIA should just throw out a driver update that just makes it so that half gig's just basically unavailable to use. What's your opinion on that?
I don't think that should happen. I think they should do some kind of an update that will at least stabilize it with games that do recognize it.
Okay, right. That makes more sense, yeah. Although they did say that it's an actual hardware issue, and a driver update can't do much for it anyway.
Okay, but even then, they could do something that would at least make it so that the games that recognize it, like between them and developers, they could do something to our games that recognize and notice that it's at a slower speed.
Right. Okay.
Could optimize differently. One
Oh,
thing I
boy.
would maybe. What's up, Cody?
He's here.
Decided to join anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing I would maybe like to see would be for like game engines or something to. For one, I don't know why they didn't have this in the first place, but if you see something running at a different speed, to utilize that differently, you'd think that they would pre-existingly optimize, because normally if a game runs over, it's going to drop into the RAM, which is slower than your VRAM.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
So.
You make a good point. You two debate more about this. I'll be right back.
I just walked in the middle of I don't know what's going on here.
We're just still talking about the NVIDIA thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, they fucked up, but, like, get over it.
Yeah. Especially since, I mean, if NVIDIA didn't throw the extra gig in, or essentially the extra gigabyte in like they did, it would have only been a 3 gigabyte card, which is what it was originally going to be. They changed some things so that they could add the extra 1, but half of it didn't run at optimal speed. So you could have paid the same thing for 3 if you think about it.
Yeah. Man, I've read, like, 4 or 5 different articles on this now, and the most recent one I read, I don't remember which site I seen it on, but they went into detail about, like, what was actually cut out of the card.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you know, they weren't really advertising things like how many roster processors does it have, or how many stream processors are in this card, so much as the fact that it is a 4 gig card. That was really what they were advertising.
Yeah.
And then when it actually came out and people were saying, well, we aren't seeing the same performance that we would when we hit that 4 gig limit. And they actually said, okay, well, you're right, it doesn't have as many ROPs as we said it did, and it doesn't have quite as much L2 cache as we thought it did. And, you know, we have a department that specifically screwed up on this. So they're admitting defeat, and they're outright telling you guys this is what it's at. It's still a 4 gig card, and it's still going to perform just as good as, you know, when we said it's going to be able to do this. It's not going to decrease performance any. It's still going to be the 970.
Yeah.
Now
that, and it's not. I have to say, OEMs and retailers are doing a really good job of handling the issue. The fact that Amazon and Newegg both up front said, "Hey, we'll give you part of your money back without you having to send the card," and then the fact that a lot of OEMs, when this first hit the fan, were both either doing refunds or even in some cases, like I saw reports, some people were getting upgrades to the 980.
Yeah.
So everyone's been handling this really well, and if you've had an issue with an OEM doing it and you post it on NVIDIA's forums, they were trying to help you switch it out as well or get a refund. So everyone's been handling this really well, except for the people that are whining and complaining.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, realistically speaking, while the 970 is a fantastic card and it has amazing potential, it's still not really 4K ready. It will perform on 4K, but not really to an adequate amount in most games and most scenarios.
Right, yeah, that's what
1080p, it blows away. 1440, it does phenomenal, but 4K is a whole new monster.
If anything,
980,
this would be a really good 4K card for like HTPCs and media streaming devices.
Right. Yeah, for video playback, definitely, especially at its price point. But you could easily do that you could probably do it on a 960. If you're just doing video playback, maybe?
Does the 960 have HDMI 2, though?
I don't know the answer to that question, actually.
Because that's the big thing right there is, I mean, if you're going to be putting it on something connecting to your TV, DisplayPort's not going to work. And, I mean, I've been looking for a couple of days now. I can't find a DisplayPort to HDMI 2 adapter for the life of me.
Well, that's the other thing you got to consider is if the movie that you're watching isn't at 60 frames, you're not really going to feel the detriment from not having DisplayPort. Most movies are only, 24 frames a second anyway?
Yeah, unless you watch The fucking Hobbit.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do? The 960, yeah, I know. The 960 does have dual-link DVI, HDMI 2, and DisplayPort 1.2.
Yep, yeah, it has HDMI 2, so I was actually just about to say that I was waiting for someone to finish. But yeah, the other thing
using only 120 watts on a 6-pin power connector, Very easy to fit into almost any build.
I mean, you could run that with an SFX power supply without any issues.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, and this is something that's actually going to be a bigger issue than the issue with the 970, and this is the one that people should be, in my opinion, frustrated about, is the really, really, really held back memory bandwidth of the 960. Now, I'm talking bandwidth, I'm not talking the actual amount of RAM. So they're looking at a 128-bit memory bus. And there's a problem with that. And first off, all testing, or not all testing, part of the testing that was done with this was done on 4K, and obviously, same argument holds that you're not going to be using a 960 for 4K either. Duh, no way. But they did it on 4K just to show this because games are going to be able to utilize what I'm about to say in the future. So with the 128-bit memory bus, when they were gaming at 4K, they noticed across a number of games that they all benchmarked identical because the memory bus was actually holding back the capability of the GPU. So
That's the one.
But here's some things you got to consider about that. While that is true, it still performs 30% better than the Kepler card at the same point did. It's still $50 less than the MSRP of the 660 ever was.
Right, exactly.
Except for now, where the 660 is the same price. And those two things considering on the fact that it's based on the Maxwell architecture, so it's still got great overclock potential, well, you won't see as much performance as the 970. As a mid-tier card at its price point, it performs very well, and there's no reason not to buy it if you don't want to spend more money.
Right, no, I'm not denying that I'm not saying it's a bad card at all.
And especially if you're just doing 1080p gaming, or like introducing yourself into 1440 even.
Right, exactly. No, what I was mostly getting at, and I can't find the article now about it for some reason, but what I was mostly getting at is games in the future that are going to start being able to use, games that heavily use VRAM, and I'm not necessarily meaning the amount they use, but they need that bandwidth in order to transmit everything when they're very VRAM intensive, are going to start having problems with it, and so that's the thing that frustrates me a little more, although it's not a huge issue. So I'm not implying at all not to buy it or anything. I'm just saying that that is actually in a way a bigger issue than the 3.5 gig thing, which I mean honestly the 3.5 gig thing is not going to impact performance compared to the comparative to benchmarks. Now with the benchmarks on the 960, when games in the future and even some current titles start really utilizing VRAM, and again VRAM bandwidth, not lots of it, the benchmarks, it's not going to be performing as good. Although, at the same time, there's an argument with that it's not going to perform as good anyway because the games are going to be more intensive over time.
See, the questions we should be asking are, why do games use that much VRAM? With proper texture compression and an adequate optimization for current space cards, VRAM shouldn't be an issue. Now, 2 gigs is a little bit on the low side, I agree, and I have a 2 gig card, so I feel the detriment of this. But 3 gigs is kind of a sweet spot, and 4 gigs is extra.
It's
like back in the day when Windows XP was still the primary operating system. If you had 2 gigs, you were set for like ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of feeling where I have 4 gigs of memory in my card. I'm not going to use all of them unless I'm doing like
high res.
Yeah, super high res, like 4K Shadow of Mordor on Ultimate.
Right. But if you're doing that anyway, honestly, if you really are planning to use super high textures and run 4K, and you want, a triple or a quad GPU system, you should really be going with the 290X 8 gig version, because if you're going to be pushing those kind of textures, you need to be spending the money to get that 8 gig frame buffer.
And that's the thing, is we've got to look at, why do you need that much VRAM in the first place? If you really need it, you probably shouldn't be shopping for a card that's at less than 3 or 4 gigs easily. And I would agree. AMD has some really beefy cards coming out.
Yes.
Currently available on the market that have a bunch of VRAM, but why do you need that much? We need to be focusing more on the fact that game developers right now aren't optimizing their games at all. And we're beginning to feel the effects of it on both PC and console even, where games like Shadow of Mordor and Assassin's Creed Unity, even sometimes in Black Flag, games slow down to less than what they are rated at. Even at lower resolutions, like on the Xbox One, where it runs 900p, we still begin to slow down from the 60 frame point that they sell so harsh to something along the lines of like 40.
Right.
So while I agree, 2 gigs not a lot, it will get you by.
That's true.
And while the bandwidth is pretty low, yes, I agree with that as well. The real question becomes, why don't game developers make better games?
Why are they behind you?
I don't know. I don't have the answer.
Tell them your live
They're
stream.
They're sipping on something. They're sipping very loudly on some sort of drink.
Well,
right next to
luckily
my
your
ear.
mic is noise canceling. We can't hear even a smidge of it. So,
I can just turn my mic off.
so
Okay, then.
So yeah, I was gonna get something about right. We were talking about the VRAM issue. Daniel, what exactly was it that Cody just mentioned a second ago? He mentioned something about optimization, right? Is what he was talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's talking about getting proper texture compression and all that. And while I agree with that, I still think that we do need more VRAM in a lot of situations. Although at the same time, if we're going to be having better texture compression and whatnot, less RAM could become, the amount could become less of a problem, but the speed of it become more of a problem. And so what I'm getting at is also, and I guess this could be a really good segue into the AMD news topics that we have tonight. And then also, just a little teaser to keep people watching. We're going to be talking about the CyanogenMod and OnePlus splitting up later tonight. So anyway, though, with the new AMD 390X, they're going to be using what's called HBM, which stands for high bandwidth memory, which is going to replace GDDR5, and is up to 9 times faster. And there were some articles posting where people were complaining that the card's rumored to have only 4 gigs of VRAM. Honestly, like Cody was saying, 4 gigs of VRAM is going to be plenty, and having the HBM on there instead is going to be more of an advantage, because the speed at which that information can get there is so incredibly fast that that's what will help promote optimization. We don't want to pile on more VRAM constantly. That's not the solution. So
hang on, I need to ask something. Why is AMD just okay with completely just fucking around with which architectures they're using? Like, I mean, as of right now, it's looking like with the next gen cars, the 300 series, they're going to be using 3 different tiers of GCN architecture.
Yes,
but one of them is 4 generations old. What the hell? Update your fucking architecture.
It's going to be a sort of like a refresh of the one that's super old, so it's not a direct copy.
No, some of the cards are rebrands of existing cards. Again.
Yeah. Right. No, they are. I'm saying the.
But why? They're spending more time on adding VRAM than they are on any other type of R&D. It seems like.
Right. Although at the same time, they're going to be using Hawaii on a lot of the stuff that's using Tahiti, I believe it is right now, or whatever it is. So they're going to be. I partially agree with you, but I partially agree with their approach. I feel that using 2 architectures makes sense. More than that is when it starts to get frustrating. Even NVIDIA has done dual architecture type stuff.
But see, here's the thing. NVIDIA's dual architecture doesn't do anything. It's a Kepler card, so it runs Kepler, or it's a Maxwell card, so it's power efficient. In NVIDIA, or in AMD's case, it's GCN 1 versus GCN 3. So we've got features over here in cards that we are currently selling that are non-existent, that have been in cards that we've been selling for the past 5 years, that are non-existent in other cards that are just coming, or vice versa, rather.
That, and they're putting them in the same numbered architecture. At least NVIDIA, when they did have the separate tiers, like when they had the 800 series in mobile and the 700 series on desktop, and then when they decided to bring Maxwell to desktop, they're like, okay, we can't just throw it in 800 because there's been this mix. We need to just move to 9.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. The what I was getting at, and I agree with you completely, Cody. What I was getting at was the fact I'm okay with them using the Hawaii stuff on some of the lower end models, and then having the 390 and 390X being the brand new brand new architecture that they're going to be using, because the Hawaii architecture, which is what's currently in the 290 and 290X, is already proven and isn't going to be lacking a bunch of features the way that the brand new card is going to be. And I don't want them to be using some of the older architectures, though.
I understand that like NVIDIA's no perfect circle. You know, they've got divots here and there, and they've got dents along the way, especially with the way that they're presenting the 970. But I feel like AMD isn't necessarily not doing anything, but isn't doing enough. You know, they're coming out with new architectures to run on, but they're still using the same core framework that they've been using in the last 3 generations of cards.
And
They're just reselling. They're just reselling like the 7970 over and over and over again. They're just going to beat that dead horse.
Right,
So
I get that. Yeah,
they
yeah.
gotta come out with something new. They need to understand that power efficiency is a good thing because it creates more powerful cards.
Yeah,
and while
yeah.
they have a history of making really powerful cards, objectively speaking, you know, maybe they should focus on other things than just how much memory can I pack in it and how hot is it going to get before it explodes.
Right. No, I
Things that they're very, very good at.
Yeah, I understand what you're getting at, and that's why I'm excited for the new architecture in the 390 and 390X. I hope that what these, because these are still technically speculation, I hope it's not going to be a problem. I hope that AMD addresses it correctly, but I am liking, yeah, the new Fiji XT is what I'm interested in most. Now, there's been rumors flopping back and forth that the new Fiji XT is going to be a 380X or a 390X. We don't know which, but if the rumored benchmarks are showing it, because the new one, it is completely trashing all over everything that NVIDIA currently has to offer, although we're still waiting for the 980 Ti and, if I dare say, the new Titan. So, anyway...
I want one.
Huh?
I want one.
I'm sure you do.
I want it just to have it.
Right?
I mean, if you're just using it for gaming, get the 980 Ti. It's gonna be.
I wouldn't just use it for
If they follow
gaming,
their trend, it's gonna be the same thing, just with more VRAM and a higher price tag.
Which is what I wanted.
Yeah.
Additional VRAM. I don't need additional VRAM, but I want it. I want to play Skyrim. Okay, I want to play Skyrim while I play Shadow of Mordor.
In 4K on both.
While I play Black Flag.
Yes.
Also in 4K.
No, so anyway,
All
what I
in
was getting
4K.
at, though, is if it is the 380X and not the 390X, although I'm kind of doubting that, I can't imagine what the 390X is going to perform like. But even in that situation, it's still absolutely incredible what they're going to be able to push out of this card, and the fact that it's supposed to actually be more efficient than the 980. Even though it will consume more power, but you know, you guys
It's more
understand.
power efficient, but it still consumes more wattage. It's
Right.
My biggest concern with what AMD is doing is that they are historically bad at making video cards. They make cards that output video, but not as a primary function. Especially when they try to make the Radeon gaming series, which are not cards that are particularly stellar at gaming. Now, don't take this the wrong way. They are very, very good at playing video games. And in some cases, they outweigh NVIDIA, especially at price points in the lower models. However, it has always been, as long as I can remember, CUDA cores are statistically and objectively better than stream processors at playing video games.
Right.
NVIDIA cards at the same price point, at the same level of purchase, are better at playing games than AMD's gaming cards.
Right, and
Well,
that's why.
That's
That's why
the benchmarks.
I'm recently. Sorry, you go ahead. There's the delay. So
My problem is that the benchmarks for the 380 or the 390 or whatever they're making, their new card, their new god tier, the benchmarks are really, really good, but those are hashing, and those are number crunching. And even in benchmarks, which are, you know, benchmarks, they push the card to its limits, they are not really always accurate representations of real-world results. You know, I do exceptionally poorly in Heaven, in Unigine Heaven. My card performs just barely above 30 frames a second, but I can pull a consistent 60 on high on Metro Last Light, a game that is pretty taxing on the system. It's not that they the benchmarks that they run, it's not that they're not well optimized or they're not designed to give you actual, targetable numbers, but they don't show you what the card will do in different scenarios.
Right. No, I hear that totally.
They don't really show you, okay, what is this card going to do when you put it in your system and play games on it? It's, okay, this card scores like a bajillion points. But what do those bajillion points mean? Does a lot of math. It does a lot of in-game math, okay? But, is that the kind of math that we're going to use in the game? Are we really going to be doing simple algebraic functions? Are we going to be doing, light shaft calculations? Which are super different.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I've actually been impressed with the what AMD has been pushing at lately with the better driver updates and the
the Omega Catalyst.
Yeah, the Omega Catalyst driver updates, the FreeSync pushing.
Necessary move on their part.
Right, making the Gaming Evolved app not shit, doing stuff like that I feel like they're actually going to try to focus on gaming now rather than, like you said, just number crunching, which they've always been good at. If they're going to be using, they're using the new architecture, although looking at what it is, the other lineup of the 300 series is going to be based on GCN 1.1, or GCN 1.1 and GCN 1.2. So those are two older graphics core next, but something to note about it is that they're going to be working on adding a couple feature updates, which could be the missing things from those particular graphics core architectures that those types of features weren't necessarily present on back at the time when they were doing good. I hope that they make the right decisions. I know part of the reason why they're rebranding it, and I'm just going to be 100% straightforward about this, even though I love them as a company. They have no fucking money right now. So what the hell are they? They have no fucking money right now. And so being able to, they're using some of their older stuff and just clocking it higher and fixing some of the missing features could be a helpful way to maybe get them back to where they have enough cash to start pushing everything.
The problem right now is that NVIDIA is focused on what the buyer is going to be buying for. You buy a video card so that you can play games. You buy, the Quadro series so that you can render things. You use that in a very business-oriented environment. So the Quadro is phenomenal in number crunching. It's got excessive amounts of VRAM, but it won't perform as good per se, or especially with how much it costs, as, say, one of their 900 series cards. The problem with AMD is that they don't really have anything to make them shine other than big numbers.
Right.
NVIDIA has physics, which is a very efficient way of, doing physics rendering.
And NVIDIA's new lighting technology.
They have the entire GameWorks suite for facial reproduction, lighting reproduction, grass reproduction now.
Fire simulation.
Fire, smoke, water, you name it, it's in there.
Yeah, right.
They have
a gaming scenario.
Physics and GameWorks and all of this stuff that makes people want to make games using their architecture because they provide these things to them to make their cards more efficient. The problem with AMD is that they don't do any of that. They just say, okay, well, it's got 8 gigs of RAM.
Right, I hear that, and that's the thing. That's the reason.
The clock speed is 2,000. Okay, but is that going to help me?
And the one thing that they did do that was truly unique at the time. So Microsoft was already working on a counter too with DX12 versus their APIs.
Yeah, they made the Mantle API, which was a fantastic idea. I applaud them for that.
Yes.
The problem is, now we have DirectX 12, which will be baked into the OS. Now, the cool thing about Mantle is it doesn't require you to have Windows 10. Bravo to them. We finally have an alternative. But if all of the manufacturers get behind GL Next, it won't matter.
Yes, right, exactly. And the other thing I was going to mention when you were talking about workstation cards is the W series from AMD.
Yes.
Now, that's something that they are good at. You have the W9100, which is just eating away at some of the other stuff out there. Let's see, versus like the K6000. So if you do a W9100 versus the K6000, and you look at the compute benchmarks, let's say for let's do Premiere Pro and Photoshop, just because those are things a little bit more common. So where is it? So yeah, the W9100 and the K6000 are almost neck and neck in that situation. But then if you look at, like, let's see, SolidWorks, how about that? Yeah, see, they're really, really, really close. But then you look at the price point. So if you look at the price point, the K6000 is around $4,000. The W9100 is around $3,000, and it performs only slightly slower. And that's where it's, that's where AMD has taken a little too much of their workstation mentality and thrown it onto their gaming cards.
That's the issue with them right now, is that they've put so much time and effort into making powerful cards that they forgot how to make efficient cards. Performing cards.
Right.
Cards that do what the people buy them for.
Yeah.
Which is to play games.
Mm.
Which they've been suffering because, they made the 7000 series and they didn't really do anything after that for a while. The 200 series, the R9s, R7s, R8s, those were just the same cards, modified slightly to perform a little bit better, but it still was on the same platform, really. Fortunately for them, they've been bringing people in now to try and make more efficient cards. They've been trying to make things better, but I feel like it's too little too late now. And they're going to slip right into something like Apple and Microsoft did decades ago. Microsoft had to buy an enormous amount of stock in Apple just to keep them afloat so that Microsoft didn't become a monopoly. And I feel like NVIDIA and AMD are almost in that same situation right now.
Yeah, right. I hear that. I mean, I guess I would say on the graphics side, if they don't do the right things with their 300 series, it's going to be tough. I will say their CPU side is looking really, really, really up with some recent.
I do have to ask with their CPU side though. Why does it seem like they just gave up on die shrinks? Like, is there a specific reason they're still with their upcoming APUs doing 28 nanometer?
No, some of the Carrizo stuff is going to be built on
28 nanometer. I'm reading right now.
Right. No. I mean, sorry.
Died.
Like, I just want to know, like, is there a reason that they gave up on it specifically that they're saying? I mean, Intel's just like all forces. They're already at half of what of AMD's is upcoming, and Intel has already announced plans to go all the way down to 7. I mean,
right. Here, let me get this to you. So what I was gonna say, and the reason I accidentally said Korea, because that's what I've been talking about mostly. What I was actually getting at was going to be the Zen series, which is going to be competing directly with Cromwell. Zen is going to be built on 14 nanometers. So they didn't give up on it. It's just because the Carrizo series is based on the excavator architecture, and so they're working on power efficiency, and they're not focusing on performance basically at all. Which is something that they need. They were so far behind in power efficiency that they need to leap that gap before they focus on the performance. Which
they are never gonna get the performance that they want if they continue to walk down the path that they've been walking for the last 5 years. It's not gonna happen.
Right.
The pile driver and bulldozer architectures were cool on paper, and they worked out really good in that number crunching bit, but like, in actual real-world performance,
they suck.
Intel still won.
Yeah, just I mean, you don't even need to sugarcoat it. They suck.
Okay.
I will say though,
they don't. They're too hot. They run too hot to actually be able to get real-world performance out of them without buying some insanely expensive aftermarket cooler.
Right.
And they don't. They have little to no variation in their systems. They're late on support for things like PCI Express 3.0.
Yeah,
they were late in support for DDR3.
Exactly.
They continue to not change. They've been stuck in a rut. Now, the thing, I've heard that they're making new processors and that they're trying to make 14 nanometer, and they're supposed to start supporting DDR4. Once again, late to the party. But
at least they're working on.
If they're still running at 95 watts like they've been forever,
That's the thing. That's the
They're
thing.
just going to explode everywhere.
That's the big
and
thing about Carrizo. Carrizo L can idle as low as 1.5 watts.
Okay,
And-
but here's the thing. The TDP is what's really important here.
Right. No,
Your
I'm
maximum
saying.
temperature before explosion. Because their wattage has always been insanely high for desktop processors, your TDP suffers as a result. You
Yes.
cannot run an AMD processor as hot as you would an Intel for as long without just mutilating the thing.
Right.
Which
Right.
the problem there is, I don't want to buy an oven for my desk.
Yeah, and see what I was getting at was the thing is that's why Carrizo is going to be skipped on the desktop line for the most part, and what they're doing there is they found some trickery to make the excavator cores really power efficient. So we're going to be looking at laptops that are cheaper than Intel's offerings, perform only slightly slower and substantially better on the graphics end, and use approximately the same amount of power.
Right.
They've gotten that nailed down, and the reason they're skipping the desktop line is because I think Lisa Su, the new CEO, finally understands, about desktop, and what you were saying there is that
Right.
if they stick with the same, bulldozer, excavator cores as, the end of the bulldozer architecture, that they're not going to sell them, and that they're not going to perform the way that they need to on desktop. And so they're going to come out with the Zen series, which is going to be built on 14 nanometer, which is allowing them, they're going to go ahead and they're going to be skipping, 22 nanometers, what Intel's at right now, right?
Right.
Right, and they're going to be skipping that completely and trying to jump way down so that they can finally be caught up. And I think that the new CEO has that approach right. I think there's still hope for them. There were some people that really don't think that AMD has a chance, but I doubt that if any of the recent rumors, and most of them aren't even rumors, are proving something, all that really matters now is that people actually buy their stuff.
Basically, the way I see it is that AMD needs to stop looking at what AMD wants to do.
hang
and
on,
start
Ethan,
looking-
I think you're echoing with Cody. I heard Cody multiple times.
Have you switched back to your headset, Ethan?
I'm not on my headset, but I just turned the volume down.
It's fine now. Cody, go ahead.
Okay. Basically, the way I look at it is AMD needs to stop doing what AMD wants to do, which is to make really weird niche cards and processors that no one in the real world wants to buy. These are things for enthusiasts and people with large wallets. And maybe make processors that actually work better for the home user that is going to end up paying for them.
Exactly, right. And that's
Um,
what Zen is trying to do.
Much to the benefit of Intel, they have managed to keep lower TDPs processors that perform excessively well under low voltage control. The wattage is low, the TDP is very high, so they can use less power input and perform up to higher
Ethan,
temperatures.
put a headset on, please. It's to the point where it's echoing so much that you're becoming the main screen.
Jesus.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Fixed now.
So what AMD needs to start doing, on top of the fact that they could mess with the die size, they really just need to make power efficient cards using a little bit less power, wattage wise, preferably with a higher maximum temperature, that are efficient. They need to learn what it is to be an efficient manufacturer again.
Yes.
Something
Right.
they have not done for a very long time. Since the Phenom series,
Exactly.
which was also renowned for running really hot.
Yep.
But
Also, I don't know about you guys. I don't know much about the manufacturing process of processors, but it seems like just cutting your manufacturing size in half, going straight from 28 to 14 nanometers. I really hope that they spend like a year or more of testing, because that just seems risky.
Right,
they want to
bad-
just literally cut them in half.
Yeah.
They need to get outside input on this.
Mhm.
They can't just try things anymore. It's not working.
Right. Exactly.
Also, I'm
On
starting
side
to feel like if any company was wanting to start getting into desktop CPUs, while AMD's kind of struggling right now, might be the best time to go big. Especially, I would love to see NVIDIA make a fucking processor. At this point,
they have the technology too.
They have the tech, they have the money. They've already shown that they can do 64-bit processors on mobile extremely well. If you look at the processor they have in the X1, along with just the APU that they have in the Nexus 9.
Right. They have the ability to do it. I really don't know what's holding them back. I mean, they would need partnership support, a lot of it.
Yeah. I feel like they could get it. I mean, since they already work with companies that also are board partners because they work with
ASUS, for example.
Yeah, that would be a perfect partnership. They come out with ASUS when they announce and say, hey, we have these motherboards and this processor, and here's how this processor performs, and it's a gaming processor. You're going to have people buy it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, well, yeah, what you're getting at, and you could have a system that's tuned specifically towards the gaming market, both on the GPU and CPU end.
And even thinking about it now, I realize, I mean, for all we know, they very well could be working on it. They said when they denied working on making processors or parts for consoles that they had something else that they had in mind that they wanted to work on. Who knows? Maybe they're prepping something. I would really love to see it.
I think
it would be interesting. Yeah.
I think it would be really cool if they did end up making some sort of processor motherboard combo. It would be nice to have a rig built by a gaming company for gaming.
Yeah.
I also think it would be really cool because it would be kind of like you want to get into your own branding situation. You know, I've got an NVIDIA graphics card. Well, my NVIDIA processor is also really good at CUDA. You know, it benefits me directly because, it's designed to do games.
And that's it. Yeah.
And it gives you incentive to buy into something that is directly targeted towards your particular, vantage.
Right.
And they would have they should. And they'd have a big advantage if you look at, mobile. They could integrate some of their CUDA architecture into an APU or like a, all-in-one chip that they'd put in a laptop or something. And right there, they'd, unlike Intel, who can't seem to compete, at least on the graphics level for low end, they'd probably be able to compete with AMD pretty well on low-end laptops.
That's true. You're right. You make a really good point there. If they had a APU, so to speak.
I honestly wouldn't mind buying a motherboard that is certified by NVIDIA or approved by NVIDIA or whatever, has their sticker on it. I really don't care. That has an integrated GPU just for CUDA. I would love to buy a motherboard that comes with a processor designed for physics.
Oh, yeah.
And offload all of that crap. Not only would people love it, NVIDIA would get massive amounts of kudos for this, because it would mean that potentially on AMD-based graphics cards, you'd still be able to play games with physics support.
And they'd make money out of it.
They would directly make money out of it because people would buy them and they'd be able to certify these things.
Exactly.
That is a thing that I want to see happen.
Okay.
They wouldn't really have to do like drivers. Well, they'd have to make special drivers for it. But like they wouldn't have to make it in the mainstream driver either.
Yeah.
Because I know that they don't want the AMD NVIDIA cross card with physics.
Yeah.
And
so
if
right,
they
exactly.
if they had a dedicated system.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, if they had a dedicated system for it, it would be a lot easier.
Right. Now, if you look at that, there's actually something a little bit funny about that. So first I wanted to confirm with you, you're talking about a board that is designed for, whatever CPU that has the CUDA processor built into it as well?
Okay, so a couple of different ways that I imagine this being. I don't really know what would be easier because I'm not a hardware manufacturer. But, if I bought an Asus motherboard with the NVIDIA logo stamped onto it, and it just had a small integrated GPU that was, not really good for gaming per se, but had just enough power that, if you installed NVIDIA's software, it would unlock as a dedicated PhysX or CUDA processor.
Right.
Not useful for SLI, but useful for offloading all of the mathematical functions onto this dedicated thing. Or a CPU from NVIDIA with an APU built into it that serves the same purpose, which would probably be easier.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And if they did that, also, if they were going the route of making their own CPU, if they did decide to put it on the card, which I could see them doing just because then I feel like they would have a little more room to tweak software because they could probably integrate it with the chipset and then just do chipset driver updates.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. That could work. You know, what I was going to elaborate on after you answered my question was, I actually that's kind of funny to put it that way because I would actually be really happy with that because that's kind of what PhysX was initially meant to be. Because PhysX, when it first came out, was a dedicated second processing card that you put in a PCI Express slot to do the work for you. Now it would be doing essentially that same thing, where it gives you the open ability. It's like if you want to use PhysX or other technologies that benefit from the CUDA cores, that you are no longer limited to buying, to changing your hardware setup specifically for that. It would be, if it's integrated in the board, and especially if it was integrated in a wide variety of boards, I would love to see something like that, where you have a dedicated processor that does part of the work.
I think it would be a very, if they could find out how to do it, and I'm sure they can, because hackers and modders have figured out how to do it already between AMD and NVIDIA cards. I think if they did it, it would be a very strong, profitable move on their part. It's what people want, especially people, even the people that don't really like buying NVIDIA cards, if they're strictly Team Red.
Right.
Will still have incentive to buy this because they will benefit from having NVIDIA technologies that are in games that they want to play but aren't available to them. It would kind of bridge the gap a little bit between this really weird war.
It doesn't make,
the people that absolutely love and hate NVIDIA for their software specifically.
Yep.
And it's mostly just because NVIDIA doesn't want anybody else to run PhysX. So why not, make things that run PhysX, and then they win.
People
will buy it.
They could just start making money from both sides.
Yeah, it's still them that's running PhysX.
If you buy an NVIDIA graphics card, cool, you can still run PhysX. All right, well, if you absolutely have to have your AMD card, why not just buy a motherboard with our little chip stuck in the center, so that you can still have our software? We get whatever percentage of the profit they make, and you get the benefit of running our software, which is pretty cool.
Right.
And it doesn't tax your system really at all.
The only thing I could see where they wouldn't want to do that is that and I know that they think this too. There definitely are people that will buy their card for PhysX capability.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting that, what they maybe could do is give it some of the PhysX capability, or something. I mean, there's definitely some stuff that would work better offloaded, and maybe some stuff that would work better on the card just because of less latency.
Right.
The stuff that's going to work better that needs that less latency, leave it on the card, still be a selling point. Plus, now they're adding more and more selling points with their VR stuff, so they can keep all of that there. But I know that there's going to be some stuff that they have to keep exclusive. Otherwise, the money that they would make from this, they would lose, and it would come out either in a loss or in a wash.
Right.
Sales.
Another idea that I was thinking about just a few minutes ago is why not make a dedicated card, like a video card that plugs into a PCI slot or a PCI Express, with lower video memory, which is historically what costs the most in a card. But has lots of cores in it, so that you can still have the benefit of a really powerful card mathematically for all of the offloading, but you don't pay through the nose for it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I kind of
just
like
something to kind of bring it in.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of interesting seeing it go this way, and seeing where desktops could go with the more processors that are dedicated, specific components that are dedicated even more towards certain tasks, such as like you were saying, if you had the build set up this way, you could have it almost. And I mean, if you had a board, for example, that say had an Intel socket, but had the CUDA processor on it from NVIDIA, right? And then you had an AMD card. You could be get the number crunching from the AMD card, and then you have the CUDA processor specifically for CUDA tasks like you were explaining. But then the funny part about that is then you would also have the Intel CPU and the Intel integrated GPU that could also do other stuff. So you would have that integrated GPU that would still have access to it. So you would have a system that could do everything. You know, you could do number crunching when you need to do it, which AMD in specific, even though applications like Premiere Pro are more optimized towards NVIDIA's CUDA processing, applications that are designed specifically to be using a lot of number crunching, AMD is historically good at. And so no matter what the task you're throwing at it, it's going to be able to handle it because it's a dedicated processor for that type of task that's being run.
I'm mostly just looking at things like, even if they had just a dedicated chip for, it had however many CUDA cores, like 350, 400 CUDA cores. Not only would people have incentive to buy it because they would be able to put some of the work onto this new chipset, game developers would even be more inclined to make games using the NVIDIA GameWorks libraries because there would just be naturally more support for them. More people would have incentive to buy games that have NVIDIA features baked in and would probably generally give better reviews overall because they would be able to access those features if they can actually do it.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. There's more incentive for devs to develop for it if everybody's going to be able to use it.
Yeah, it's like, it runs GameWorks. It's got the smoke, the fire, water, and FaceWorks. Okay, but no one can use them.
Right, exactly.
Friggin' 680 to run grass.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a little bit of leeway here, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
We just want to play games that look good.
Yeah.
Give us the ability to play games that look good. Long story short, AMD needs to get their stuff together and come out with something that actually wows people again, because it's been a long time since they've done that.
Right.
Yeah.
And not just make the same cards over and over and over again.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping that
They're
GPU
throwing money at a problem that don't exist.
Right, exactly. And then the other thing, I feel that's what Zen is strongly going to do on the CPU side. When it comes to the GPU side, I'm hoping that the 300 series is able to do it, at least the top tier stuff, because that's heading in the right direction. And then when they hit the 400 series, they could have all new architectures because they would be able to use, because like I was saying earlier, the cash flow problem where if they can reuse some of the old stuff that they already have built and ready and they don't need to dump R&D into that stuff too much, it's saving them money so that they can maybe get caught up at some point.
They just need to stop for a second and take a breather and go, guys, we're still selling the 7000 series. Maybe we should consider making new product. How do we do it? How do we make a new good card again?
Yeah.
It's like they've forgotten.
That's why I think if they're smart, I would like to see them with the 300 series. I would really like to see the 390 and 390X based on their new Fiji XT or Fiji card, and then have everything else be Hawaii, because they've already developed Hawaii. Hawaii is already proven. It's on the 290 and 290X. It is already a good architecture, and it wouldn't be lagging too far behind, but they don't have to dump the money into the R&D for it.
See, I think it would be really cool, and I don't know if this would work for them. They're the tech giant. I just complain about things. I think it would be really cool is if whenever they came out with a new architecture or a new, shiny thing, why not make one or two cards that are insanely powerful with it? The 390 and the 390X. Just really, really horsepower oriented. Because the price point won't matter so much at that stage of things. And then when the next series comes along, so say the 400 and the 400 series has a 490X. They use the Jamaica GPUs, whatever is out by then. Just make them really powerful and strong. And then when the 500 series comes out, from the 510 all the way up to the 580, make it based on this Jamaica graphics architecture.
Right. The previously powerful
and make them efficient at a price point. Turn off cores, do whatever it is you got to do, lower VRAM. And then for your 590 and your 590X, come out with whatever is going to be after that.
Right, exactly. I agree with that. I like that idea.
It would at least give them the option to still come out with new stuff, but it would be consistent, and we would expect it then.
Mm-hmm.
and we would know this is the new thing, okay, and this is still the new thing, but like optimized, like
Right,
smaller.
the new thing, but
This is Baby Bear.
yeah. I really like that idea. I think that that's something that could save the company or be a good idea, so to
They
speak.
just need help. Oh my god, I want them to succeed. But God, they need help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why
I just really don't want Nvidia to
having having Lisa Su as the new CEO, and then hiring what's his name? It's Jim Keller.
Kim
As,
Jong-un.
huh?
No.
Hiring Jim Keller as the new CPU architect, he's known to be one of the most legendary CPU architects out there, and really knows what he's doing. I think with that kind of help, they might be able to succeed.
They're at a sink or swim point right now. I don't really give a shit what happened to them because Intel is going to continue doing what Intel does, which is innovate and actually make a new product. I just need AMD here so that Intel doesn't get monopolied to death.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Right. One thing that I had thought about in the worst case scenario is I'm more okay with Intel becoming a monopoly than Nvidia, in a way, because Intel I feel and this is just obviously my personal feelings towards the company, but I feel that Intel is going to be working harder on innovation and promoting things, even if they didn't have competition, than Nvidia would.
They've always done that.
Right.
They continue to do that. They never really stop doing that.
Yeah, they can be on their own and just push things.
I don't want to say they define what is the current trend, but they definitely strongly influence it.
Right.
They continue to make smaller, more powerful, faster, colder chips. They continue to make chips that do astounding things, and everyone else not necessarily falls behind them, but looks to them and says, all right, that's probably the in thing.
Right, yeah, that's why I've always been impressed. And Intel's kind of the leader
Intel has
the industry.
Intel has an amazing influence on things. Now, would it be really cool if one day you wake up and it's like, oh, hey, by the way, ARM processors on desktop? Yeah.
Right.
I'll go for it. I want a phone-sized processor on my computer. Sure, why not? I can make the smallest HTPC you've ever heard of.
Right.
But that's not really something that's viable at this point. AMD is the only company that I see that could really give Intel a run for it, and they've been stumbling.
Right. I
They
think
need to pick up their pants.
Yes, exactly. The only thing that kind of was able to push it was the Athlon series, where it was substantially closer. Intel still won, so to speak, but it was a lot closer, and that's why the guy, like I said, Jim Keller, who was originally helped with Athlon, they brought him back and said, "Hey, we need help because we're going down."
Putting it shortly, Pentium was so successful that we still make them. What have you got, AMD?
Yeah.
You kind of still make Semprons, I guess.
Right. Well, they still make Athlons too with the new quad core unlocked Athlon.
Yeah.
And that actually is a better gaming CPU than the Pentium G just because of the quad core ability. If you look at the single core performance, the Pentium still wins, not by a massive margin, but still wins if you look at the same clock speed. But yeah, because games like Far Cry 4, where Far Cry 4 will not work on less than 4 cores, which I find hilarious. It will literally just crash if you're on less than 4 cores, no matter how powerful those cores are.
So basically, this topic has been murdered.
Yes, it has.
AMD, get your shit together, please. We want you to succeed, but you're making it really hard to believe in you.
Pretty much.
It's like that cat with like 3 legs and one of the eyes is scratched out. You want to love it, but it's so hard when it just bites you.
Oh, damn it.
Also, while not related to graphics cards, I do gotta say I love that what NVIDIA is doing as far as like with the Shield. They did an update specifically to improve performance on emulators.
Nice.
Yeah.
Go them.
Yeah.
Good move.
Why can't more companies do stuff like that?
I can't wait to play my Wii on my phone.
Right? I mean, hey, they're already working on Dolphin for mobile.
Yep. Oh God, yeah, I await.
I can't wait to play some Smash on my phone at
I'm
work.
ready for that. I don't give a damn if it's Brawl. I'll do it.
Okay.
Oh God!
For
Oh,
days.
oh God, Lucario.
Brawl to go. Don't bring that up. Scotty's laptop.
By the way, his computer's really good now.
Yeah, I
He
heard
got a
about that.
970 and some other stuff.
Oh Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, next topic.
I was gonna say.
Are there
I was
any
gonna
other
say.
topics, really?
Brawl to go.
That's not for
Real
Brawl.
Pikachu?
That's not for
I
Brawl.
know. I'm kidding. I know it's not for Brawl. I'm not an idiot.
What is our next topic?
Okay, so
I ain't got Amiibo. Screw you guys. I ain't even gonna Wii U.
Dude!
what I wanted to shove the next topic. Well, okay. So what I wanted to transition into is some mobile stuff, but quickly before that's mentioned is one more thing, not related to desktop, but related to high-end computing. Is the new supercomputer coming out or being worked on called Trinity, which
Is
is
it
not
quantum?
No.
Why not?
It's not going to be done for a substantial amount of time. They're still working on it. But what makes it interesting is it's a
Runs on
heavy-duty
lasers.
water-cooled. It's a water-cooled supercomputer,
Okay.
Okay.
and it's just pretty cool. It's using huge. I mean, it's using industrial-grade valves and stuff. You know, the kind of stuff that you would see. But it's pretty cool, and it's going to be, if nothing tops it right now. Then, you know, or by the time it's done, if nothing tops it, it's going to be the fastest supercomputer on the planet. 33.86 petaflops.
That's neat. And cool.
Right.
I can't really say that it's innovational in any way because they could have thrown water cooling on Watson.
Yeah.
Right. No, I know. Yeah.
There's never really been like, why would you do that?
Yeah. It's just kind of cool to see it finally happen.
No, it's neat. I mean, they're finally accepting it.
So yeah, it really is. Yeah, the best way to
What's
go.
what's on the mobile platform right now?
Mobile platform. Okay.
Say next to 7. I swear to God.
So, I am
legitimately
legitimately excited for the Galaxy S6. I'm going to say it right now. Surprising enough, I am excited for it.
Is
Less
it Tizen?
bloatware. Huh?
No,
it's Android. It's
Alright.
Android Lollipop with less bloatware. Yes, it runs. It's going to come pre-installed with, instead of having like the billions of different shitty apps that they have, a much closer version to stock. It'll most likely still use a different launcher and everything because it's Samsung, but you can just switch that. It will be using a couple of modifications that are good to Lollipop, like something that they just added to their S5 with Lollipop is the actual having a mute button again, which Lollipop doesn't have.
Yeah.
Don't know why. On top of that, it's coming with the Office apps that it's coming with are Microsoft Office mobile apps.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes. I'm assuming you can just install them. It's probably rumor has it it's because of the lawsuit of Microsoft suing them.
Right.
You say, hey, Microsoft, instead of giving you all this money, we'll give you some money and then just pimp out your apps.
Right. Gotcha.
And then on top of that, metal body, which is pretty much confirmed if you look at the pictures that are on T-Mobile, Sprint, and AT&T's website.
Right.
It's going to have an Edge version with less of a curve, so I don't really know what features it's going to have. But I mean, hey, it looks cool. And then also supposedly the screen is going to be much more anti-reflective, so we'll see what that helps with in real life.
Ooh, that sounds nice, actually.
Yeah, in one of their videos they were teasing, like, they just started saying stuff about, like, less reflectivity, and it's like, okay. And then on top
I could
of
go
that,
for a phone I can see in the day.
yeah. On top of that, since they bought LoopPay, their mobile payment system will be a viable and good option because you can use it anywhere that has a card reader.
Yeah.
Bam. And I'm going to say right now, every single fucking person that is saying Samsung is knocking off Apple Pay, shut the fuck up. Seriously, I'm so tired of reading articles about Samsung Pay being a knockoff of Apple Pay, which was a knockoff of Google Wallet, which was a knockoff of something else. Shut up.
No one cares anymore. Here's the thing. All right, there are options now.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to. They're going to continue to make more options because that's just how it works. Okay. LoopPay was around prior, so they're not really like doing some new hot thing. They're they're taking someone else's technology and rebranding it as their own now. Apple
Did you
Pay,
guys know I was gone?
yeah, Apple Pay, whatever. All right, they're good. Apple's always done their own thing. No one gives a shit about them anymore. But like Google Wallet was cool. It was, I mean, it's not the first of its time, and it's definitely not like a newfangled technology, really. But it was a cool idea to be built upon.
Are we talking
And
about
it's matured extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Are we talking about Loop Pay and Samsung right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Galaxy
that's fine.
S6, they have, they bought Loop Pay, so it will be a viable mobile payment option.
Uh-huh.
And people who are complaining that it's just a ripoff of Apple Pay, which is a ripoff of Wallet, which is a ripoff of some other crap, just shut up. We don't care anymore. All right, we've heard it. No one cares.
Yeah, it's
Like
about right.
stupid feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, if the rumors are true about the HTC One, what are they doing? Like, can they please change the design slightly?
Does it actually look the same?
For the most part, yes. The camera is no longer circular.
Oh,
But-
boy.
Yeah, I mean, that's just because they're not using that crappy ultra-pixel camera.
Yeah.
Which never was that good of an idea.
But the main thing for me, like, I would be okay with the same physical body. Just get rid of that stupid black bezel that should only be there when you have capacitive buttons.
Yeah,
We don't
I
need a
agree. It's
bezel.
just adding extra size to the phone.
So,
And the HTC is all right.
yeah.
Variation is nice once in a while, you know.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I mean, the HTC One, when it first came out, was such a beautiful phone, and now it's like, yeah, and we've known what it's going to look like for the last forever. Since the HTC One came out, it's just been the same design all across the board.
What is weird, though, UpLeaks posted a few videos earlier today leaking about the HTC One, and then all of a sudden their Twitter account disappears.
Yeah,
So
which
it
is
looks
very
like
odd. And
they got smacked by HTC.
They're getting on the Snowden boat now. They got to move to Russia.
Yep.
It was UpLeaks, right?
Yeah.
Uplinks.ru.
Let me see. Their account's still active.
Meanwhile, on Android.
It was. Oh, it might have come back up. It wasn't though.
Right.
What is
okay,
what is
so
the
I was
site?
gonna say I found it.
Just twitter.com/upleaks. Yeah, it's back up now.
Yeah.
But it was legitimately gone. Like I went to this exact same URL and it was just no account exists.
Oh, jeez. That's crazy. So, more mobile news. What about CyanogenMod and OnePlus breaking apart? Kind of odd.
So they're not
Everyone's
breaking
not
apart for one. Yeah, I mean, what's happening is, from the beginning, for one, the plan was Cyanogen was there to help OnePlus launch the OnePlus One.
Mm-hmm.
That's still the case. They're still planning on updating CyanogenMod 12S, which is the specific version for the OnePlus, is coming out next month. They're just in the final testing stages now. None of that changes. OnePlus is making their own OS, which they always planned to do. It's just because of the stuff that happened in India, people are taking everything that's going on and making it a bigger deal than it is.
Okay, yeah, because I saw MKBHD's video about it, and he flat out said that CyanogenMod is not going to be pushing any updates to the OnePlus anymore.
Yeah, I think he was just misinformed because right after, like, or right around the time he posted that video was when CyanogenMod came out and said that the 12S update was coming out next month.
Okay.
So he would have already have finished editing and been uploading that when that news broke.
Right.
So.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Things to consider on that note. Cyanogen doesn't stop developing ROMs. They're like an umbrella. They manufacture the ROM and then other people modify the kernel and the source.
Mm-hmm.
In the case though of the OnePlus, they specifically are the ones they're the ones doing the work.
Okay, see that I did not know. I was under the impression that OnePlus was modifying the kernel.
No,
And the source
12.
for their device.
The Cyanogen S is something specifically made by Cyanogen for the OnePlus specifically.
Gotcha.
It's as simple as that. OnePlus is making their own ROM, though, Oxygen OS, which is starting out as a very, 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 very close to stock lollipop with just slight modifications per what's going on their forums. They've always been very good about taking feedback from there. And then any features that they add in the future will also be coming from requests from the community on their forums.
Not bad.
So
I had read on there that they're working with the Omni team to try and make it.
Cool. I have
Omni
not
or
looked.
Paranoid. One of those. Yeah, they called in developers to assist in the ROM
Nice.
development.
Interesting.
So
That'll be
it will
cool.
at least be stable.
Yes, that's the good thing. It'll be nice to see what they're capable of doing because they know everybody likes a more stock Android experience.
Yeah, everyone kind of saw it coming though, because there was not necessarily tension between the two, but like OnePlus was making some questionable decisions for a while.
Mhm.
Right.
So it couldn't have been that, not obvious.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I get what you mean. Um,
I'm excited to see what they do though for their next phone, the OnePlus 2.
is that what they're going to be calling it?
I don't see why not.
I guess that would make the most sense. It really would. So I don't know. I'd kind of like to see that.
It's better than them doing the 1, and then the 1, and then the 1, and then the 1X. Oh, I'm sorry, HTC.
Oh man, go shots.
Oh boy.
Hey,
that-
it's the one
I like that.
M7 that you never heard it called by, and then the one M8 that you only heard it called by because they made a second one.
Hmm.
And now it's M9, which is official in the title. So
What are they gonna What are they gonna do when they make like 10 of them? Because then they already have a 1X. So is it just gonna be the 1MX? But then they'll already
No,
have
it'll be the 1O.
10.
Oh my gosh.
Damn wrong. All right, so Galaxy S6 looks pretty good. HTC One M9 looks all right.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm starting to.
Oxygen OS is a thing.
I'll be honest. I'm starting to get really sick of HTC's custom version of Android. Even though I still hate Samsung's a lot, I really don't like. Oh my fucking hair! I really don't like HTC's. I always liked it because it felt industrial. But I feel like they basically were like, "Hey, here's what we want to do with HTC Sense," and then they're like, "And now we're not going to do anything with it for the next 3 phones because we don't give a shit anymore."
But here's the thing you got to think about. Samsung did the same thing forever.
Right? No, they did. They
Literally
did
forever.
too. Yeah.
TouchWiz has been TouchWiz forever, and they just kept
Uh-huh.
adding things to it and making it fatter.
Yes, and that
Now, at least with HTC, it was a consistent experience. It was always very fluid. Sense has always been very nice to the user.
and it still is. Yeah.
I enjoy that they have that news feed thing at the front.
Yeah. Whatever it's called, I
I
forgot.
don't have a one, so it's Daniel.
There, it's just Blinkfeed, but
Blinkfeed.
there's a lot better
Blink.
implementations through third-party apps.
Yeah, but like it's cool that they baked that
Yeah.
in. They at least gave you the option to have it if you were, were ignorant of that knowledge prior. So it's cool that they've always had a very consistent user experience, and it's always been pretty good for the most part. It's not stock Android, but it's pretty close. They add their stuff, but it's not TouchWiz.
Yes.
But at the same time, it would have been nice to have just a little bit of variation between them. Like, hey, this is a new phone. Could you please add new features?
Right, exactly. That's what I was getting at mostly because I've
Bigger
always
camera
liked Sense,
using weird pixel thingies. All right, but
and
that's
Sense has always been good. Right? Yeah, it's basically been the same phone, and here's the same phone again.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing, just
Fatter.
the same thing. I mean, you look at it too, especially
bigger,
with the
fatter phone.
Right, the M8. Yeah, it's like there were almost no changes to it other than a few spec changes.
What I
That's
find
something
fun-
that I really have favored LG about their custom OS is how close to stock it really is.
See, that's the thing, though, is like that's what I love about Motorola is how stock it is.
Right. But I mean, if you look at the features that LG has added, I like. That's the thing that makes me most frustrated about TouchWiz.
The
and,
feature that Motorola has added, I like.
Because there aren't any.
No, there's one. It's the voice commands.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
And see,
that's-
the thing
that's
is,
part- that's why I
I
bought
like
it.
a few of the features. I like the ability to be able to run multiple windows at the same time because if I have the power to do it, why not? And I actually have used that a lot. I like the little tweaks that they have done with with a few of the OS flavors, so to speak, and with having the quick icons or whatever you want to call them up here, and being able to adjust your brightness and everything directly from the lock screen, which I know is something that Android's currently working on as well for Lollipop and everything.
Oh man, I'm gonna teach you a thing really fast. All right,
I already know.
Not many Android users know this, but if you have a phone, okay, and you've got the quick settings tiles, right? So you just go over here and then you tap the little icon, right?
Yep.
All right, that's 2 taps. All right, check this out. Just use 2 fingers, and then it just goes to quick tiles.
Yes.
The miracle of science. I have read so many articles online. Lollipop is coming out. Now you can just drag it down, and it you don't have to do a second tap. Okay, just use your other finger on your hand.
It's right there, people.
Yeah, you know, if
Yeah.
you got it wrong, just swipe. You gotta do 2 swipes now. Okay, whatever. You've always been able to do this.
I just like this, the brightness slider.
Uh-huh.
honestly though.
Which I can throw I have a brightness slider on here too. See,
Okay.
that's why I say
Does the rest of the settings disappear?
no. But that's what I'm saying is why I like what LG has done. Is a lot of the features that LG has thrown onto their
I just like
friggin'
how
Android though.
a lot of the features that LG has put into it are things that are actually popping up with Lollipop. Also, what I was getting at is I like what they do where they seem to find the small things that can still be innovative in hardware, and they don't do it stupidly. Like, you know, HTC was like, oh, our ultra pixel thing, and it wasn't innovative at all, even though they pretended it was.
It wasn't innovative, but it was a change. A lot of pictures that are taken indoors in dim lighting conditions because you're usually taking pictures of your family.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like in a car, going on a road trip. You take pictures with your phone of events in your life, not of nature.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool that they put ultra pixel because it's better in low light conditions. It was an awesome idea on paper.
Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, and
It
that's
was
why.
cool, and it was nice. Okay, but it's just not as good.
Yeah, there are better.
In my humble opinion,
alternatives.
I would rather just have a normal good camera.
Right, and that's the thing is to get there are better ways, much better ways to get good low light performance.
HDR.
And focus. There's that. There is things like, I mean, if you want true low light performance, look at some of what the Sony Xperia stuff can do, right? And it's like,
It's by a Lumia 1020. Okay, it's got a
Yeah.
41 megapixel camera the size of your ear. Everyone just get one of those. If you want to take pictures with your phone, you have to buy this phone.
Mm-hmm.
well, if you look at
Stop having cameras on phones, and just sell that phone with a camera, and then sell every other phone.
We just be sharp and make flip phones that run Android.
okay, we're not even gonna start.
Oh no! Oh, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Check this out. They're not even bad phones. They don't even suck.
Yeah.
They're pretty good. And they flip. That's the whole thing now. Is you can put it in your pocket and not break it on your ass. It's awesome. I would never buy one, but it's cool. Like, hey, Grandma, look, I got you a flip phone. What is that? Don't ask. Just
No.
enjoy.
What we need is the Kyocera Echo to come back.
Okay,
Alright, so
no,
moving
alright.
on.
Yeah. No, we're not even gonna talk about that.
So features of Android phones that are currently in Lollipop. Brightness adjust from stock Android. Awesome feature. Good move, Google. I like that more 5.0 ROMs actually look like 5.0 than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
For example, TouchWiz looks like Android again and not like Tizen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm mostly excited for the fact that, Google keeps pulling this shit where they just release updates all the time, and no one's questioning that. Lollipop is awesome, and there are features in it that I would not give up for the world, like how they basically stole active notifications from the Moto X.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The problem is, when they came out with 5.0, they didn't really do enough testing for it, and they released an unpolished stone. And when 5.0.1 came out, they fixed all the stuff, but there's still other stuff that like no one wanted or features that people did want and used all the time that isn't there. For example, the ability to just hold the volume down button and then not have to listen to my phone.
Yeah.
Right.
The fact that there is no actual mute option anymore in Android is kind
Now,
of weird.
You can get it by just going down, down, down until you get to vibrate, and then hit none or whatever it is, or like, and then do it indefinitely.
But you shouldn't have
That's
to turn.
weird.
That's
Yeah,
literally
like-
disabling notifications, though.
Yeah, it just kills it. Period.
Yeah.
Why they did that, no one knows. Wi-Fi performance on 5.0 was not as good as it should have been. They lowered volume on some devices. Like, there was a whole host of things that they just could have done better. And they released an update for it within, like a week or two after the OS came out? But the problem is, why would you do that when you know how carriers are and how they operate?
Hold the update off for a week and then
AT&T is just now starting the Moto X 2014 soak test for 5.0.1. The soak test. Moto X released Lollipop a month ago, if not more, for the 2014.
Yeah.
Well, and they're just starting the soak test. And Google is already releasing 5.1 in India on Android One.
Yeah, yeah.
What are they doing? Some devices that have 5.0 aren't going to get 5.0.1, which fixes all of the crap like memory management. And there was a crucial memory leak in the OS that happened on certain devices running, various configurations. They won't get those. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
For one, though, a lot of those things, though, since the actual, the main things that made 5.0 are out, the OEMs can fix in their own way, or they can tweak before it gets to them. They don't necessarily have to have the 0.1.
Yeah.
A lot of times, the very, very small updates, the X point whatever, are something that you don't even see come to most phones because, if it's a security fix, the manufacturer will just update that with another update that they're doing for their software, things like that. So a lot of that can at least be skipped. The other thing I was going to say on the topic of carriers and updates, T-Mobile has just done something really cool. They posted something on their website now where you can go and see with all of the phones that are planned for getting Lollipop, where they're at in the process. You can see which phones are planned, which phones the manufacturer is still working on the update for, which phones you're waiting on T-Mobile to finalize, and then which phones it's being pushed to.
I think that is a wonderful move on their part, and really cool to see that they are so interested and invested in that.
And then also on that same page, there is a separate forums where you can go and talk about the update progress for each device.
Okay, where is this again, by the way? I've heard of this one.
I actually just had that link open.
Yeah, I have. I'll pull it back up. I have it right now.
Right, I got it.
The thing that kind of trips me out is the fact that LG already got the custom 5.0 OS done a long time ago, and it's not through to any of the phones in America yet, but it's in a lot of other places.
Somehow Verizon is starting to get it. A couple people have reported getting the updates pushed to their G3 on Verizon somehow.
What the heck?
Of all carriers, Verizon's
usually the slowest.
Speaking of Verizon, on a little bit off topic, Leah has an Ellipses 7. It's a tablet by them that they manufacture in-house through some Chinese manufacturer, Taiwanese or whatever. And they are just getting the 4.4 KitKat update. And when I updated her tablet to it, it broke. It actually threw it into a boot loop. I just checked Android Police about 20 minutes ago. This is a known problem with a lot of people. They released an unfinished product, and they're getting Lollipop first.
Wait, who was this again? This was
Verizon. Verizon. On a tablet that they manufacture under their branding and name, the Ellipses 7, by Verizon, finally got KitKat. It's throwing devices into boot loops.
That's
unrecoverable
so
boot loops.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm not surprised because Verizon.
Now, speaking of updates,
sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Oh, okay. So I wanted to note something about this. I find it really weird that the G3 is not listed on T-Mobile's site, even though it is supposed to be getting Lollipop. That's something very odd. Because Lollipop, I mean, there are already videos of it when it like 2 days after Lollipop was, announced. There were already people or 2 days after it was going to be able to come out, there were people in Poland that made videos and showing off what's new in Lollipop for the LG stuff, which isn't much, but.
I'm going to assume then that it is something involving LG not having finalized certain details with T-Mobile.
Okay.
Because this, like you can see, all of the phones that Samsung has publicly confirmed are on there. All the 2 phones HTC has said yes, and then Nexus devices that aren't already running it. So I'm assuming the fact that there's no LG phones that aren't a Nexus device, that it's something where LG has not finished finalizing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So I know that the G3, they've confirmed that Lollipop is going to be in there. They've begun pushing it in other countries. I'm impressed at the rate in which various companies are pushing their updates. Samsung has already begun pushing Lollipop. LG has begun doing soak tests in a variety of other companies. I am really upset about the phone that I have.
Yes.
Not because it's taking so long, but because of the reason behind it. Motorola has already begun pushing the Lollipop update for the Moto G first and second generation now. The Moto X 2014 and the Moto E, if I remember correctly.
No,
Not yet? Not yet on the E?
Not at least not the first gen one.
Okay.
Second, I don't know.
I know that the second gen is going to launch with it.
Okay.
When people were asking why don't we have it on the Moto X, which is fairly similar to like the S3, Motorola came out and said, from one of their developers, we are working on it and it will be available, quote, very soon. And they gave the impression that it would be something probably within the next month or two. Someone asked Motorola support on their Twitter page. I saw that you said very soon. How soon is very soon? To which Motorola responded, paraphrased, we can't release it right now. We need to work more on the chipset. So,
really?
when they manufactured this phone with the S4 Pro, a dual-core, very standard processor by Qualcomm, which chipset kernels are already available for in the Nexus series, as well as from Qualcomm, because they manufactured it as a special X8 chipset, they can't figure out how to do it, so they're going to work on all the other phones first. This is their flagship device. This is the thing that got them out of hot water. They can't do it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly. Motorola would be nothing without that phone.
Motorola, why do I hate you right now? Why are you doing this to me? I paid too much money for this phone. What's going on?
Yeah, because you bought that phone for the same reason that people buy Nexus devices, to get the updates quick.
I bought it because it runs stock Android. So there's not really a lot of modification going on. I bought it because it doesn't have bloatware up the wazzes. I bought it because it is an appropriate size. It's got a good camera, excellent call quality. The camera, the image quality on it is really good on both the pictures taken, videos taken, and the screen. It's a very solid phone. And it performs excessively well. It can't be that hard.
I know, yeah.
The kernel is available, and they manufacture the processor in-house.
Yeah. So I don't see... it shouldn't be this... It sounds almost like they're not paying any attention to it.
Well, I'm just upset that, they released Source for Lollipop in November. 4 or 5 months ago. They could have begun working on it immediately from that point, had a team dedicated to this thing from then to now, and it might have actually been done by now.
Right.
But I understand. They have to put it on their new device. I get that. But you could have left a team to work on the one that got you started.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Especially when you outright promised when Lollipop came out, it's going to be on the Moto X. It's going to be there. It's going to be there. It's going to be good. And then you just don't do it. You wait and make it the last friggin' phone.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like they realized that it was going to be a little bit more of a challenge, and so then they went with all the other phones first because they were all going to be quick and simple. And really, they should have left somebody, or not somebody, but a team, like you said, to work on it simultaneously.
Just asking for a little leeway here, guys.
Yeah.
Lollipop. You promised me a Lollipop very soon.
Or at least more details than just chipset.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's going to be here very soon. What does that mean? That means nothing to me.
Literally nothing. I have a quick question. Is either of you watching the stream right now, or do we have one live viewer?
I'm not.
I'm not.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, I just wasn't sure if that was because I noticed we've had at least one viewer the whole time, and I was wondering if that was one of you guys. So I just read something a little interesting. This is game related, not tech related, but it has to be said, and I need to write an article about it because of how ludicrous it is. So currently there is a new edition of Dying Light coming out. Okay.
I love this. I love this.
Oh yeah, you've heard. Okay. So
Yeah.
Cody, have you heard about this yet?
Bring it to me.
Okay, so there's a new edition of Dying Light. Now, now you heard me right. You're hearing me right. It
Okay,
costs,
new edition of it.
Yes.
Super special Zombie Primo edition.
Its price is $387,571 US. You heard that
Is
right.
it-
So
When I buy it, do I get a
for
blowjob?
one, it comes with a
It's
zombie-proof shelter,
It
like
comes
a
with a
legitimate
house,
building.
real house,
Yes.
custom built from the game. But here, I have it open, so I'm just gonna read the things that it comes with. Okay. So custom built house, like he said, built by Tiger Log Cabins. Zombie avoidance parkour lessons. Be the zombie match with devs where you win so you can brag to your friends how elite you are. Trip to Techland in Wrocław, Poland to meet the dev team and party with the Steve Zombie consultant, or with Steve the zombie consultant. Your face skinned onto your Night Hunter character model. Dying Light branded night vision goggles and adult diapers for the night portion of the game. 4 steel box editions of Dying Light. They say Xbox One editions, although I'm assuming if you're paying this much, you can select another one if you want. 2 of the Razer Tiamat headphones, and a human-sized volatile figurine to use as a deterrent on human raiders. Legitimately.
Can I ask, do I get a blowjob when I buy it?
No.
But you could probably convince
Then
someone
where does
to.
the other $75 come from? Wow, that's a lot.
250,000 pounds, and they're not kidding. Yeah, 300, which
that's
translates, like I said, roughly to $387,000.
I mean, they've had versions of games that have come with cars, so this really isn't that surprising.
It's a little bit beyond a car, though. You know, I mean, if the
This
game
is-
costs $30,000 and comes with a bunch of special stuff in a car, that's one thing. But when you're talking in the 6-digit numbers,
Okay, but you're getting a building.
I know you are, yeah, and it is a custom-built, really nice building, assuming you could probably live in the thing.
And it's
Wow.
zombie-proof.
And it is zombie-proof, for real.
Means I can keep my in-laws out.
So I just had to bring that up because I was like, this is not possible, but apparently it is.
It seems more like just, hey, we can make this thing, and then everyone's going to talk about how ridiculous
Yeah.
it is, so
Yeah.
free advertising.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty
I'll
much.
go. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
If I had the money, I'd do it. Like, I mean, when I say I had the money, I don't mean I had, the money saved up. You know what I mean? I had a lot of money. I would totally do it.
I mean, if I had that much money to blow,
Yeah, if I was a trust fund kid and I was just bored,
Yeah.
why not?
right?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to mention on the topic of mobile, specifically on the topic of carriers. If you go based off of what carriers are actually saying, like what they're claiming their numbers are, it's still Verizon, then AT&T, then Sprint, then T-Mobile. If you go based off of what their actual active subscriber count is, though, T-Mobile has passed Sprint. Sprint is using a very weird way to count subscribers, in which about 1.7 million active or inactive subscribers are still being counted as subscribers. So they are no
but-
longer number 3.
But that's the thing is, like,
They're
Sprint
not-
sucks.
I
Why
know.
don't they bother counting?
But yeah, no,
Them on
they're
one
le-
hand.
they're legitimately using inactive subscribers towards their towards their subscriber count, so that they can stay and apparently they've always
Sprint
done
is.
this. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Sprint has publicly said they've always done this, where there's a certain specific, I think it's for specific business accounts, they will keep a subscriber in their system and consider it a subscriber until something very specific happens with that canceled subscriber. And as of right now, there is about 1.7 million
Oh,
within that
jeez.
list that they are generating no revenue from, but Sprint stands firm in stating that they are number 3 because those are subscribers and how they count them.
That's just
Okay,
stupid.
but let's consider the following. If I haven't paid Sprint in the last 3 years for my phone bill, and I just happen to still have my account in the registry, I'm not a subscriber anymore.
Right?
Right, yeah, that
Which
makes
is why I canceled them, because they're stupid and bad, and their self-services the suck.
yeah. Sprint needs some help, or they're gonna be bye-bye.
This thing is
Just if you call them, don't call them back in a week because soon that will be what's fucking over employees.
Wow, I'm sorry.
Jeez.
I'm just gonna keep calling until I get to you, Daniel. We can
Okay.
because you screw your handle time.
Anyway.
I hope they're listening to the call. Like, hey man, how you doing? Hey, can you give this whatever account you had open last like $300 on credit? Because like I just found a credit card on the ground. I don't know whose it is, but someone's getting paid.
Oh my gosh. You know what? You know what would be funny? Someone should dare I say this because I'm not actually for it, it's a joke, but someone should sue Sprint and say that if they're still considered a subscriber, they should still be getting service. And sue them on
No,
that.
because you're not paying Sprint. I wouldn't.
No, I know. It's just
That's
it would be.
And I mean, even if you're
technically-
paying Sprint, do you really get service?
Yeah.
God
The
damn it,
hard
Daniel.
truth.
Just right there.
let's be honest.
Boom. Straight to it.
Let's be honest. He's not wrong.
He's
I
not
mean, hey,
wrong.
they have made some
I love
improvements.
that
Their Spark network, if you don't mind not being able to talk and use internet at the same time, is pretty good.
Right,
If
but
you
I mean,
don't want to use your Android phone for the reason it's an Android phone, then I mean,
yeah,
Spark,
that's the thing. It's frustrating.
until manufacturers start making phones with multiple, essentially radios at the same time that can be used at the same time, with how Sprint Spark is set up, unless they ever decide to do voice over LTE, which Sprint doesn't seem to care about.
Which is stupid because voice over LTE is the best.
But I think I know the reason, though. I mean, if you look at it, how Spark is set up is that there's 3 different frequencies that they switch between. One of which you're never going to want to use for voice because it's the 2500 megahertz that Clear used. So if you walk into a building, you're going to drop. Which is great for high-speed internet, and that's why they use it. That's specifically the only time it's utilized is when you're outside, like for example outside in an area where it is a strong connection. It's going to give you the faster speeds.
oh man.
And then they have their
hurts me.
standard, then they have their standard 1900 megahertz that they've always used, but they're using that for just general LTE speeds when you're doing something like indoors where you don't get as good a service for their 2500. And then they're using the 800 megahertz, which is their low band for calls. So you're going to get better call quality, you're going to get less dropped calls, you can get it's going to bounce off towers better because it's going to have better range.
Right.
So in theory, all of that's a really good idea, but you're losing something that a lot of people have just come to expect to be standard, in that you can't do voice and data at the same time because the radios on the phone just don't support it.
But come on, that's the best friggin' feature of Android.
Yeah.
We got that first. Apple copied us.
Yeah. That's true.
All right. Well, I mean, let's all agree that Sprint should probably go die in a fire.
They really should. If they keep their business model.
No, I'm sorry. They can stay so that Verizon has someone to point the finger to.
There you go. That works. Good.
At least they have unlimited data.
That's
Okay.
it's not like
if you can
you
get
use
that
that
data,
much
if
data.
you can get that data, it's a saving. If you remember correctly, 100 gigs in a month. I play so much Xbox on my phone.
Hey, nothing beats Scotty's 300 gigs.
I know, but like I played Halo on my cell phone.
He did 300 gigs while being throttled.
I know. I don't get it. I don't know how he did it.
Did he get that? That's
Spotify broke
impossible.
and kept trying to sync it because
Yeah.
he maxed out his storage on his phone. It kept trying to sync more songs and then deleting the songs he had synced. So then when it finished the list, it would delete the songs that he just finished syncing. And so it was just running a sync all month long.
Oh my gosh! And
Yeah.
he didn't notice a battery life drop.
It's
He
not
doesn't
like
use his
hears-
phone that much.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was gonna
He
say.
barely
that's-
uses his phone.
Okay. Do we have anything else news-wise? I'm looking around, but there isn't a whole ton of stuff right now that we haven't covered.
Well, see, let me just pull out my bag of dicks here.
Now it's a party.
You can cover those, Ethan.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. That's a good topic. Bluetooth and NFC-enabled padlocks are coming in a few months.
Those were announced like 3 years ago.
Yeah. So.
Oh, man! There's something I want to complain about. Phones in cars. Specifically, Android Auto. As if we didn't have a big enough excuse to be distracted while driving. We needed a bigger excuse to be distracted while driving.
I have no
much.
problem with Android Auto. I've after what I've read up on it and what I've looked into as far as how the UI goes, I mean, it's not like you're going to be watching video, and it's not like the car manufacturers can change everything. It's just like Android Wear and Android TV.
Okay, so it's a Finite version. Then.
For it to be classified as Android Auto, it is this very specific UI.
Okay, see, I was under the impression that there was still variation in it.
No.
Like car manufacturers can add and remove, or
no, there are specific tweaks that can be made just to be optimized for the hardware in the car. But nothing like adding feature sets or anything like that. If they want to do that, they can just use they can tweak Android in their own way.
Okay.
But,
I see Aaliyah.
Yeah. But no, Android Auto is very specific to how Google wants it, and it's very optimized for getting shit done and not having to spend all that time looking at the screen.
Right, exactly. That's something I've always liked about having my Pebble while driving, is being able to change music, see who's calling, and stuff like that without it being a big distraction from driving.
Yeah, my biggest concern is that having the screen in the car, people are going to they're going to have an alternative source of distraction again. Realistically speaking, we have the radio, we have passengers.
Yeah.
We already have dash control. I'm just afraid that...
In all actuality, Android Auto doesn't have much functionality over what most cars have, like Ford's infotainment system has now. I mean, it's Google Maps.
Standardized.
It's a more consistent way to do audio for music playback and things like that. And it's better integration with Google, like with Google Now for directions and things like that, and especially with where Google has been working on adding things like, as you're doing a road trip or something with Google Now, they've integrated, the ability where it'll just tell you where upcoming gas stations are and things like that, and which ones are closest off the road and things like that. It's
okay.
It's what it should be.
See, that I can get behind. That's not
It's less ridiculous than the Tesla having a web browser in your car.
Right.
Oh.
Until I can tell my car, okay, Google, and it will talk back to me. It will never be as good as my Moto X.
I'm pretty sure you can do that with Android Auto.
Okay. Good. Because otherwise I'm just going to tape the Moto X in front of it.
Yeah. And it's all powered by your phone. So, like, a lot of these cars will actually have their own infotainment system, but then you plug your phone in, or you connect your phone to it in some way, and then it will initiate Android Auto. It's not something that will be in the car on its own, at least until supposedly a future version of Android will be able to be integrated just into the car. But this is strictly your phone is essentially mirroring.
It's an extension of your phone.
Yes.
Okay, so it still uses your phone data connection. It still uses your phone's, primary as the primary source of power per se. It just happens to exist in the dash.
Yeah, it's just like Apple's car system, where it's...
Okay, see, that's not so bad. That's information I didn't have prior. That's a little bit easier to stomach.
Yeah.
I can go for it. I did read somewhere that Toyota isn't really on board yet. They want to do the Toyota thing.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, because we drive a Toyota. But luckily, ours is old and it still has a tape player. So
I mean, hey, Maserati supports Android Auto.
Maserati supports Android. Okay, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
Not bad.
And yes,
it's a lot easier now.
It does have voice control.
Yes. Oh man, I'm gonna have so much fun with that. Okay, car.
Yep.
Okay, car. I like that, man. I like that.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, anything else left on the agenda then?
Okay, two things just popped up. First off, what you were talking about upleaks being taken down earlier, Daniel, all the videos that he posted are gone.
That's not surprising.
They've been
probably something involving HTC getting pissed.
DMCA.
The other thing, DirectX 12, some more news has gotten even better. All right, here, let me just read this sentence. What this means is that the
It's going to be on Windows XP.
Damn it. Okay, so here we go. What this means is that the API combines all the different graphics resources in a system and puts them all into one bucket. It is then left to the game developer to divide the workload up however they see fit, letting different hardware take care of different tasks. Now, if you read further into the article, I'm not going to read more of it, this is allowing two things. First off, this is allowing if you have two 4 gig VRAM cards, you have 8 gigs of VRAM access instead of 4. Because they don't need to each have the same frame buffer in them. But the other big thing that this is bringing is actually the possibility to, and kind of almost goes with what we were talking about earlier, be compatible where you could have an NVIDIA and an AMD card running in the same system without a bunch of tweaky issues.
The drivers would still break, though.
Right.
One thing I wanted to mention, the having VRAM work like 2 4 gig cards and effectively giving you 8. That's no different. That's how low-level APIs in general work. AMD has even said that Mantle supports that. It's just no developers have integrated that. That's just a feature of having a proper low-level API.
Right. Yeah. I knew that. I was just
something NVIDIA could learn from.
Right.
The other thing, though, that is
2660.
interesting is because of the way it's going to be designed is one card will operate as the master card while the other is for additional power. And if done right, even if the drivers conflict, two opposite cards like that could work together so that you could be running a card with, PhysX, for example, but still be using AMD's FreeSync or whatever, which would be really interesting. Almost going along with what you were talking about way earlier in the stream, Cody, where you could have a dedicated PhysX card and still be running AMD hardware if that's what you wanted for whatever reason.
Right.
Which, I mean, there are actual legitimate reasons to go with AMD GPUs. There isn't for CPUs, but I mean, well, okay.
And if you ain't got money to spend, and Kaveri looks nice.
Right. Well, if you don't have money to spend, that's true. So I was kidding.
So DirectX 12 is going to be a good thing, is what I'm hearing.
It's going to be amazing.
Perhaps maybe we should just use it.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing. The thing that frustrates me about it is that DirectX 12 is going to be widely adopted, and Mantle could have done that.
No, it couldn't.
Yeah, it could.
The thing with Mantle is that since it only supports AMD, you're never going to get the support. I mean, it's just like something like PhysX.
On
AMD
GCN.
That's true.
AMD
has to be GCN compatible.
Right, AMD has outright said that they could modify things and then allow NVIDIA to use Mantle as an API.
But NVIDIA
because it's open. But NVIDIA wouldn't do it, so we have to go with something from a third-party developer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing that frustrates me is that AMD put so much work into that, but because they're a direct competitor against NVIDIA, it's not going to be something that could be widely adopted for whatever numerous of reasons. And so it has to be done by, say, Microsoft.
See, that's the thing, though, is like when AMD came out with theirs, it was still hardware-based, just like PhysX is.
Right.
You still had to have a GCN-compatible card, and it had to be, like from this one to this one. It couldn't. You had to cherry pick.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Mantle. DirectX 12 is fantastic in the sense that it is baked into the OS. You don't have to worry about that. The only downside I see, really, is that you're not going to get any of those benefits on a lower level of DirectX, and I'm afraid that it's going to be harder to develop games for backwards compatibility.
Yeah,
I would like us to stray away from DirectX 9 now that Windows XP is no longer officially supported by Microsoft. DirectX 10 sucked and we should ignore it, but 11 is good.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned that if we have all of these really cool DirectX 12 specific things, how much harder is that going to be then?
Right,
because compatible with DirectX 11.
Right, exactly. I get that. And the thing that confuses me too is there are games still currently coming out that are developed with DX9.
It's common.
Yeah,
everyone knows how to do DX9.
Right,
the other
and that's the frustrating part.
Some DirectX 9 is not as intensive as 11 is, so it's easier to have lower.
Although I've noticed that the CPU intensity of DX9 is still not as good, because if you have a game that's DX9, it's taxing the CPU more, considering what the graphics are doing. Because if you look at Firefall, for example, one of the really, really CPU-intensive games out there, it's because it's running on DX9.
That's not a correlation.
Okay, that's just per
Look at
optimization
Saints
then?
Row 3. It has DX9 mode and DX9 mode and DX10 11 mode. DX9 mode looks like shit. 10 and 11 looks glorious.
Right.
It's just because 11 enables features that aren't there, like tessellation and
Yeah.
higher
Tessellation's a big
level,
thing.
anti-aliasing or anisotropic or whatever. There are features that are in 11
Yeah.
that simply aren't in 9. It's not necessarily that one is more or less intensive than the other, so much as one is more beautiful and adds more API features.
Right, yeah.
12 is expanding on that even further and saying we're going to put it at a low-level API, so you have access to hardware resources that you previously didn't have, so that you can get even more performance out of it, which is awesome, and it's what they should do. But
Right.
does that make it easier or harder to develop games for older systems? Things that are running Vista, which is DirectX 10, or 7, which is DirectX 11, or 8.1 even, which is 11.2, or whatever.
Also, we're going to be seeing people, developers are going to continue, though, doing what they've always done and develop for the lowest and then optimizing for others. So, I mean, you're going to see things made for DX11 and then slight performance gains for DX12 for a long time.
Yeah, because they have to do that in order to get the market that they want so that they can make money.
Because not everyone's going to run Windows 10.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I'm still unsure.
I like Windows 10.
I think a lot of people need to switch to Windows 10. I've loved it. I've loved what I've done playing around with it, and I love that it's free for 7 and 8. So
I haven't tried it, and I probably should before I make any harsh judgments. But just
technically,
looking...
Cody, we have plenty of Windows 10 keys.
Not this again. I've been thinking about that too.
Oh, man.
You get it right, Cody?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have plenty of 10 keys. We do. We really do.
I'm mostly concerned that like the poor adoption rates of Windows 8.1 are going to bleed over into 10.
Just
That's
because
why
of
I'm
the fact that
excited.
it's a free upgrade.
Yeah, no, that was a very good move on their part.
Yeah, they couldn't have done any better.
I'm excited for GL Next, which I think should rightfully supersede DirectX 12 as the in thing, because it's not only got backing by Intel, NVIDIA, and AMD, all three of them, but also I think ASUS is behind it, and even Microsoft has said this is a pretty good idea. OpenGL needs a resource refresh. GL Next is that thing, and I think even Valve has had positive comment on it.
What all is GL Next? I haven't heard about it much.
Okay, so do you know what OpenGL is?
Yes, I know what OpenGL is.
The Open Graphics Library. It is a widely adopted graphics rendering solution for multi-platform operations. It runs very friendly on Linux and Mac OS X as a result, and it's available on Windows, although we have DirectX, so it's kind of a toss-up. GL Next is the next step to OpenGL. It is supposed to be a low-level API, similar to DirectX 12 and Mantle.
Okay, so OpenGL is an API, technically, then.
Yeah, it is an API. It is a graphics solution, basically. And what they want to do is make a low-level API for OpenGL, or the GL standard, that has massive performance boosts. And the problem is Intel has always been very bad about OpenGL. NVIDIA has been all right with their support. AMD has actually been the best, I'd say, of the three.
AMD is
they have the best adoption rate of OpenGL. However, there are not many games that operate in OpenGL mode.
Right.
Because generally speaking, DirectX is kinder. The features are more easily reproducible. And if you already know DirectX and its friendly features, then there's really no point in making an OpenGL game.
Right.
So GL Next is supposed to be the thing. It's supposed to be the next step in the GL library, where we will have this very efficient, very friendly, very accessible graphics library solution.
but completely open, unlike DX.
Yeah, and they're hoping to get backing and partnership and support from the major hardware manufacturers.
Okay. That makes sense. I like that, and that's really cool. Let me ask you this then. What is OpenCL?
Oh, man, I believe that is a library made by NVIDIA.
OpenCL?
I think.
Because I know...
No, it's made by Kronos. No,
Yeah.
wait, hold on.
Because OpenCL, I was using it to render in Premiere Pro the other day.
It's a CUDA-powered library.
Really? Then I'm wondering why Adobe Premiere supports CUDA and OpenCL, and OpenCL is something that can be done by AMD cards.
OpenCL was based off CUDA. Oh, let me see here. You're gonna make me do my.
AMD has some OpenCL stuff on their website for developers too, so it's
a multi-platform solution.
It's definitely open then.
It is made by Kronos.
Okay.
Open Compute Language is a framework. Blah 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 blah. It's an open standard for parallel programming and heterogeneous systems.
Oh, I see.
Right, that's why AMD is widely adopting it with all of their HSA architecture stuff, which is really what we should be focusing on because it's so fast. But yeah, because if you look at the OpenCL performance of some of the APUs out there, it'll stomp all over i7s and stuff with render times and whatnot if HSA and OpenCL, or if HSA is on them, which HSA is based on OpenCL in a way. It's interesting. Some of the benchmarks.
All I know is that there's OpenCL, there's OpenGL, there's OpenAL.
I haven't heard of AL.
And AL is also a graphics library, ironically.
Really? That's what is it?
And I believe that I think that they're all operated under Kronos.
Yeah, I think Chromos just makes different things for very specific. Like I'm guessing GL is more focused on gaming.
Yeah.
Versus like CL is definitely for productivity.
Yeah, compute
OpenGL, the Open Graphics Library, for typically used for interacting with a graphics processing unit to achieve hardware accelerated rendering.
Right, which Minecraft's one of the few games that supports it.
Well, OpenAL is an audio library.
Oh.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay. That makes sense.
Graphics and audio.
Gotcha.
I like that. Huh.
Not bad. Is OpenAL Kronos? No, it's Loki. Yes. Creative. It's creative technology. It's the guys who make the sound cards.
There you go. Right.
And then also I was gonna bring up, by the way, looking at who's like for OpenGL. There's a lot of big stuff. I mean, yes, Valve, yes, Intel, NVIDIA, but you're also looking at ARM in general, even Apple, Unity, Epic, Oculus, Sony, EA, Google, Pixar, Qualcomm, Samsung, MediaTek. So this is kind of all over, both for mobile and desktop, which could be a good thing too, especially with the fact that, it's looking like, eventually ARM is going to come to computers, real computers.
Yeah, it will. Yeah.
And I think that stuff like that, on top of stuff like Microsoft making a big push for apps that are going in their App Store, will help with that. Definitely the productivity and stuff is going to stay x86 for a long time, or x64 or whatever, but...
GL Next is basically the DirectX 12 and the Mantle solution for cross-platform compatibility. It would enable it in Linux architectures, which means even Android and iOS, for that matter, would be able to run on it. Things like Ubuntu Phone and Ubuntu tablets would be able to use this technology. Windows tablets, Windows phones, all of this stuff, in essence, would be able to benefit from GL Next, provided it was there. And because it's a third-party thing developed by Kronos, who is all right by all means.
Right.
They're working on it, so what are you going to do? It would be an option for everyone. It would be a very good option.
Right, right.
I especially like the Valve is behind it because that means
That shows something.
Linux
because
gaming
it's
will
got-
continue to push.
Mhm.
Mobile gaming will continue to push.
Right, which it makes
All
sense.
of this is
because
very
it's
good.
A
All
lot
of this is
more open, no pun
Yeah.
intended, than DX12. So, which
well.
makes
It's not.
sense.
It's not the open thing because DirectX has a very, very good documentation library on it.
That is true. Yeah.
And the knowledge base is very thorough. It's the cross-platform thing that kills Microsoft.
Right. That's what I
DirectX
was starting to get.
DirectX is the reason that gaming on Windows has always been strong.
Yes.
OpenGL had a very slow adoption rate, and because there are so many different versions of Linux and the Unix-based OS, it wasn't not profitable, but not really feasible to make games for it. And Steam has started to change that.
Yeah, it has.
So-
it's the only reason that gaming on Linux can even be a
Right.
thing.
So while GL Next maybe won't give as much performance as DirectX 12, whatever, it's still going to give more performance than OpenGL, and it is a very currently widely accepted presentable solution.
Right.
People want this to work. Game developers and manufacturers want this to work. What surprises me is that both AMD and NVIDIA are behind it because neither of them really ever gave a shit about OpenGL.
Right.
They
Right.
support it, but they don't push it.
Right.
So
AMD's been somewhat thorough on it, but not. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never been a huge thing.
uh,
Until now,
mostly in-
AMD's been talking about it more.
yeah, mostly in the fact that NVIDIA's Linux drivers have always been stupendously awful.
Right. Yeah. If you're gonna. Yeah. So I just read an interesting article that just came out by Maximum PC regarding the Carrizo APUs, and learned a little more than I knew. So it's kind of interesting, and I'm just going to read this short paragraph here. On the technical side, Carrizo will feature 29% more transistors, 3.1 billion in total, in nearly the same die size as its predecessor, Kaveri. AMD also says that the Excavator x86 cores provide an uplift in instructions per clock. That's what we needed, at 40% less power. That's what we needed. So, hence the claim that Carrizo will offer double-digit percentage increases in both performance and battery life. So, getting further on to that, the GPU cores are going to have full H.265 video. What is it? Let me see. Hold on.
Video decoder.
Right, yeah, video decoder on chip. It's going to have a dedicated one for that, so that
That's not
4K support is actually going to be good on it.
That's not. That's not.
Right.
That's just an encoding. You can do any video in H.265.
Right. No, I know.
It's just the fact that H.265, as was H.264, is a closed, proprietary system.
Right, but it has a dedicated.
So the fact that it's
on-chip
dedicated on the
processor
chip
for that.
is nice.
Yeah.
It means you don't have to pay royalties.
Exactly. Right. And then the other thing is the Southbridge is going to be integrated on the CPU. Another thing AMD has been behind on. But to go even further, one of the reasons that it's able to be so power efficient, and I'm really proud of them for doing this, so to speak, because it's able to provide better power efficiency, even though the cores themselves aren't substantially more power efficient. I mean, they're fairly more power efficient, but one of the ways they do it is let me see where it is. Okay, so the way that they do voltage on microprocessors is they typically supply about 10 to 15% more voltage to account for droop, right? So that you don't have crashes and stuff, right? So what they're able to do is they're not really explaining how they did it. They just know they are releasing that Carrizo is able to compare the average voltage to the droop voltage in an order of nanoseconds, so that it can fix that before it becomes a noticeable performance issue at all. Where there is no impact on performance, but at the same time, because with the voltage drop, you could also get performance issues. There's no impact on performance, and it keeps that voltage so specific that you don't have to have that 10 to 15% increase, which causes reduced battery life.
I mean, if it works.
Right. Which, I mean, it's showing that it can. I mean, they're showing Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then it'll also be the first CPU that's HSA 1.0 compliant, full HSA 1.0 compliant. Kaveri was only partially compliant with it. That allows the GPU to do compute tasks, which is why it blows away other CPUs when HSA is in use. I'm pretty impressed with all this, though. I will say.
It's a good move on their part, as long as it works. Really, that's all I want to see is a processor that works from them.
Right. So, and then if Carrizo is like this, since they're focusing mostly on mobile, that's what they need to do, because mobile will bring in a good amount of money, especially if they can compete with Intel pretty hardcore. So.
We'll see how that goes, because, yeah, who knows?
They just need to fucking do it. They just need to make a good thing.
Yeah. So, it's looking like they know what they're doing this time. I hope so.
Well, the way they keep hiring people.
Right. So they are doing what's necessary I think what's necessary and what if everything's successful, what I hope is necessary. So,
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Cool. Anything left in our immediate topics?
Last thing, and this is something that news just kind of broke on this like less than a day ago, but as far as with the upcoming Game Developers Conference, Valve is both planning on showing off their in-house VR headset, like the one that they might be planning on selling, but also, obviously they're going to be showing off new Steam machines, but they've been working on their own version of a Steam machine that they might be releasing, which will be cool because I guarantee you that's going to have some optimization for Steam VR.
Probably.
So most likely that means an NVIDIA GPU, I'm going to guess, just because of the fact that they've been pushing VR stuff integrated into the GPU. Who knows, because of the Linux support and the fact that it's going to use Linux, we'll see where that goes. But if they can get NVIDIA to make it work on Linux, and the fact that it's VR, they're also pushing VR, I would guess that would be a really good pairing.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
GDC this year is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
It will be, yes. We'll have to be ready to post shit when that comes up.
Cool. Well, I'm really glad to hear that they're making their own VR headset. I'm excited to hear that they're making their own Steam machine.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really see that one come. They're a software company. They're an anything company. Fuck it, they could rule the world.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like they haven't already made Steam machines. What they did with that whole program before, where they sent random ones out.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Well, that will be interesting.
Yeah.
God,
We'll
be crazy
see how
to do
that
good.
goes. Oh yeah.
Gavin has always been very successful, so I'm sure this will be a fucking hit.
And yeah, and if
you can't
anything,
do something
Lord and
wrong. It's
Savior.
impossible.
I would not be surprised to see them sell it at cost and then plan on making their money from Steam.
Oh, they will.
Yeah, that would
I can guarantee they will.
Yeah.
because they know that they're going to get a massive.
They could make a $1 profit on it and still win.
Mm-hmm.
Gavin can do anything, like you were saying. He is God.
Our Lord and Savior.
He's our Lord and Savior, and he can do anything.
Gavin. And his mighty neckbeard.
Yes. Remember 60 frames of
60 frames of Gabe.
That was so bad. 60 frames of Gabe. So one last piece of news, and then we'll probably be done with this, is a little bit more gaming news. So we all know Grand Theft Auto got pushed to March 24th, right, from the initial release date, which made everyone mad. That was a second delay. It just got delayed again to April 14th.
Oh, wow.
But the good thing about it is, so I'm glad I didn't pre-order it, of course, but the good thing about it is the devs are specifically saying, our apologies to PC gamers worldwide who have been counting down the days until the launch of the game, but a bit more time is needed to ensure that the game is as polished as possible and to make certain that both the Heist and the GTA Online experience are ready to roll out on day one for PC. So they're trying to do the right job this time, which is what I was hoping.
Sounds like they just said, look, guys, we ordered a bunch of new servers because ours lit on fire. But we weren't expecting this.
Yeah. So they are working very hard, though, to make it not stupid.
I am excited that this might be their first not shitty port.
Yes, yeah. It might not be a port at all.
Ever. Oh, well, it is a port.
Right. I mean,
at this point, it's a port.
Yeah.
But here's the thing we've got to consider. All the other games they made for PC weren't, like, stellar.
Yeah.
So this might be the first one where they don't totally fuck up.
I also think it's going to help that they did a very good job of porting it to current-gen consoles.
Yes.
And current-gen consoles are at least the most similar to PC that we've had in a long time.
That's true because of all the AMD hardware.
It's the closest we've had since the PlayStation.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, you're right. Oh boy.
Fucking PS2 launched, it was more powerful than most computers. They thought Al-Qaeda was using PS2s. Okay. We're at the PS4 now, we're starting back up with this shit.
Right.
Okay, well, that'll be exciting.
Yeah, I think
I'm
it'll be cool.
actually
So I'll order it when it
upset
comes.
with the pre-orders. I don't understand it. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a diehard for the game, fucking go for it. I don't give a shit. But, like, why do you pre-order for the bonuses if they suck?
Yeah.
We're like, oh, I gotta buy GTA 5 so I can get money in-game. It's virtual money. Just mod for the money.
Yeah, you make a good point.
Modify
I
your
never.
save.
I mean, there's one game that's okay to pre-order.
Goat Simulator.
No, anything.
No, that was the only game.
Anything
Majora's
Nintendo.
Mask though. Majora's Mask was okay to pre-order.
Okay, but like that's Nintendo.
I know.
We expect quality from Nintendo.
We do. We expect not shit.
They do a good job of releasing their games when they say they're going to release them and still not making them suck.
I know. It's like they're the
They're
only
like,
one that can still
hey,
do it.
How long is it going to take to make this game? Okay, now let's give us some time to optimize, and then give us some more time to bug fix, and then, okay, so we'll release it at a reasonable time.
Yeah,
Pretty
and
much,
then
I mean,
you'll
yeah.
note that they're free online multiplayer, which doesn't crash.
Yeah.
I know. You look at like Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, never has a problem. Ever.
Fucking P2P connections, man. Swear to God.
Yeah.
Whoa.
No, what I'm looking at is like, you pre-order GTA and you get what, like 3 million in in-game cash.
Mm-hmm.
Something
that
like
what
that.
it is?
Yeah.
You get the money. You get a fuck ton of money. Okay. You pre-ordered Evolve and you got Left 4 Dead, which I understand is a poke because they had people that worked on Left 4 Dead working on Evolve. But like those, there was a while where if you pre-ordered GTA 5, you got San Andreas.
Who gives a shit? No.
Why?
No, see, that's
It's
the
not
thing with
worth
GTA.
it. That doesn't
Nobody
justify
wants
my
to
money.
play. Yeah, nobody wants to play an old GTA. There's no point. If you have
Nostalgia
a new
purpose,
one-
I get it, but like if I'm gonna play a game for nostalgia, I'm gonna go buy a PlayStation. All right.
Yeah, right.
Here's the thing. That's an awful reason to pre-order a game.
Yeah, that's
I
why.
pre-ordered Goat Simulator because it was dumb, and Resident Evil 4 because of nostalgia. But
Yeah, you look at Goat Simulator. It is the best game ever. So I mean, yeah. I mean, especially when you have.
we had like 7 people here, and we played 4-player split screen on my TV.
Oh, I'm scared.
awesome.
Oh gosh.
It lagged out all the time, but it was awesome.
I believe it. No, I need to do that sometime. Have
4K
you
Goat Simulator, Daniel. Do
have
it.
you played Goat MMO Simulator yet?
Yes.
I can't believe how beautiful that is. Simulating chat. Like simulating people talking to each other and replying to each other. Microwave is OP, and then they're like, nah, man, Wizard's OP. Microwave isn't OP at all. I don't know what you're talking about. Microwave doesn't do enough DPS. It's like,
It's
great. It's great. It's impressive what they were able to do. So,
All right, well,
anyway, before we go
I don't
into
think I have anything left on my agenda.
anything, Daniel, that you have left?
Last quick question. Are either of you now willing to consider Elder Scrolls Online since it's no longer going to be pay monthly?
Yes, I am considering it because it's no longer pay monthly. I might try it.
I don't like the $60 price point, but I might be considering trial.
If it gets good feedback, then I'll buy it.
Okay, but
That's
here's
not
the
my
thing. It's already not getting good feedback.
But
Right.
a lot of the feedback, I mean, you're always, even if they try to say they're not, you're
Yeah.
going to judge it based off the price.
Yeah.
And so they're thinking, okay, this is this game, and how well is it compared to other games that cost a retarded amount of money a month?
Like,
Okay,
wow.
so it's not as good. Okay, but now we're looking at, okay, this is a $60 game, which is still planning on getting constant content.
Yeah.
Now how is it?
Yeah, that's the thing, and when I'm looking at it too, is they do plan to do a fairly major update to the game when they release it for free, correct?
Yeah,
I think
when the
that's
console
right.
versions launch as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it could end up being a good thing because I always thought, oh, Skyrim Online, this is going to be the best
That's
thing
the thing
ever.
is, it's not Skyrim
It's
Online,
not.
which
But
is
that's
what
the thing.
people wanted. So if you're looking for Skyrim Online, you're not
Right.
going to get it.
Right.
And that's the problem, is it got so many negative reviews because that's what everyone wanted.
Mhm.
And it's not that. The story isn't as coherent. The gameplay mechanics aren't as, Skyrim-y. It
Right.
felt like a half step back, but it's online, which is the step forward. The problem was they wanted it to be free, but they couldn't do it monetary wise.
Right.
They didn't have the funds to do it.
I find it funny that they didn't have the funds to do it, considering just how successful Skyrim's been.
Goddamn, literally everyone would have bought it. Fucking give us Guild Wars Skyrim.
So Chris just mentioned that the Elder Scrolls Online combat was too repetitive during the beta when he played it. It didn't feel, like Skyrim didn't feel like it was repetitive combat. But elaborating on that,
Kidding. Please be wrong. Please be kidding.
but
All you do in Skyrim is click things.
no, okay, no, but I mean,
That's all you did. It's not even RNG like it was in Morrowind. It's just, I hit it.
okay, that's true, but there
Like those
was-
random crits.
Yeah, I like that. That was funny. I don't know though. I think
But I understand.
one of the problems with ESO2 was also the fact that there weren't any major improvements, so to speak, on top of Skyrim. It was just throwing this online aspect, and everybody assumed, oh, it's going to be great because it's like all these other games that they've made.
See, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Is when they were talking about it and releasing it, they're like, "Oh, it's gonna be the best Elder Scrolls experience ever," which was Skyrim.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They
exactly.
literally just wanted a multiplayer component in Skyrim.
That's really what we wanted.
I feel like it would have been better if they would have had, an Elder Scrolls developer make it rather than
Yeah.
ZeniMax.
Yeah, no, that's also very true.
Something else Chris mentioned, he's like, all games are click things.
Okay, but let's be honest. Skyrim, you walk up to the thing and you click button till dead. It's kind of similar to a first-person shooter, actually, when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And not all games are click things, because if you play puzzle games and platformers, you will find that your brain don't do the clicky parts.
Right. Yeah, I get what you mean.
But I understand the point. Yes, all games are basically come down to press, click.
Pretty much, yeah. That was pretty great. What
Skyrim,
Chris just said
especially,
to me
you
though.
just find something and you look at it.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of funny what Chris just said to me. I said lol, and he says, "You're a liar. I'm watching you. You didn't laugh out loud."
Fucking faggot.
Fucker.
How dare you lie to our followers like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
I will find you. I will kill you. Alright, well,
Okay, well,
I'm
I
going
think
to
we've
dinner
covered
because
pretty much
it's
everything.
1 in the morning and I'm going to have dinner now.
So I'm gonna go play some games and eat
I didn't
some
even think about having
food.
dinner. That's a good idea.
Yeah, you're right. You maybe should have dinner.
Daniel, you enjoy that 4K TV.
Oh, I
Like Goat
believe me.
Simulator 4K, I swear to God.
I'm rewatching House
Yes.
of Cards because in 2 days now, House of Cards Season 3, which is
Yes.
also in 4K, comes
I can't
out.
wait. Have you seen The Blacklist, by the way, Daniel?
Dude, we talked about this.
This is
Okay.
probably not a conversation.
But
for a
anyway,
podcast.
yes. Okay,
Right?
guys. So, all right, everybody, thank you for watching. So this is WordCast is what we call it. It's done by WordTech, which is our tech news company. So make sure to check out www.wordtechreviews.com. Tweet to us at the tweet link up there.
The tweet.
And yes. And then check out our keep watching our live streams, which will be every Tuesday night. Daniel and I will always be there. Cody will be joining occasionally as well as other people. And make sure to check out our Google Plus page and our YouTube videos because we just recently actually have been updating some YouTube videos, which is pretty cool. So anyway, we'll talk to you guys later.